McDaniel can't move on it. Now he does. The shot, passing down. Rebound, score!
Hey, welcome to the Tone Crease podcast, where we talk about anything and everything to do with the NHL. I'm SJ, that's the co-host WillyDubz swinging over there.
What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. I feel like people might notice I have a different setup this time, but essentially I'm in London, Ontario, so I'm in a bit of a different spot.
I know people the London Knights for. They won the Memorial Cup, right?
I think they run the most recent one, yeah, or they at least got to the finals.
Memorial Cup winning London Knights. Yeah, right now it's just. That. I hope they did, because honestly, if you ask me in a blind year who won the Memorial Cup, my first guess would just always be the London Knights.
Yeah, they beat the Medicine Hat Tigers in the finals. Yep, so it is the London Knights. I might actually check out a Knights game while I'm here at some point. I don't know. I visit family here, so I might just check out a Knights game once in a while I'm here. Might as well, right? I don't know.
Apparently, JJ McCarthy threw a pick six just now, like for a couple minutes ago.
Do you have him in fantasy? Is that what's going on?
No,
for you,
I do. I'm just kind of always curious. I don't know if people like. So this is the first week of football season, and I always just watch certain games because I'm just always curious about the next wave of guys, like who has it, kind of in a way. And it's not necessarily they have to look like a superstar right away, but you kind of want to see flashes.
Do you see any flashes with JJ McCarthy or no?
Not yet. Not yet.
Because he missed his entire rookie year, right? He missed his entire technically rookie year. So this is his first start in the NFL, I think.
Yeah. There are some guys I did see it with though. Like I think you saw the potential in Travis Hunter. You saw the potential in Cam Ward. Again, Panthers fan, much to my chagrin, but Ted McMillan looked awesome, I thought. And then some of the other like.
Wait, what do you mean? Much to your chagrin? I thought you were going to say
being
Bryce
a Panthers
Young.
fan, much to my chagrin.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like you're going to say like Bryce Young didn't look great, and I was like, okay, that at least makes a bit more sense. But
no. Like, again, much to my chagrin of my fandom, like as in general, just being a Panthers fan is just a miserable experience. But Ted McMillan looked really good. There were a couple, and also Tyler Warren on the Colts looked really good as well. I think it's just interesting because. For me, I always say this, and again, it's not about whether the people will be serviceable players. It's more about whether I think they'll be like a Pro Bowl or All-Star level player. For me, I think you have to flash early. Otherwise, it's just the more years go by, I'm just less and less likely to believe in it. It's kind of like with hockey too. I kind of feel the same way. I'm not saying you have to come out and be a point per game player right away, but to me, you have to flash it. And again, there are times. I think it's really rare that a player doesn't flash and then just becomes an all-star level player. I think the only guys I can really think of were Mark Scheifele and Brad Marchand. Were like the only two I could say didn't really show it and ended up becoming them. Most guys in their first couple of years show you something, I think.
Or if they don't show you something, they're probably out of the league within like 5 years for the most part. 3-5 years are probably out of the league by that point.
Or they're just like third or fourth, which again, there's nothing wrong with. Like they're just third or fourth line guys, but it's a far cry from where you take them. I think Jesperi Kotkaniemi is a good example, right? He's a guy who, again, for me, never flashed when I watched him, right? And everyone says, well, he's young, just wait for it. He moves to Carolina, he becomes a second line guy, and it hasn't come yet, right? And I kind of felt the same with Jesse Puljujarvi. Like I didn't see what the hype was when I was watching him.
Yeah, he keeps getting random chance. I feel like when you're a top 5 pick, you'll just keep getting the random chances because somebody will just keep taking a flyer on you and hoping that you put it together. But I think one thing I've learned from those is just it's never. I don't want to say it's never going to happen, but if you don't show it within the first few years, I feel like it's just never going to happen. So I don't know.
I mean, even with Puljujarvi, like you see the playmaking sometimes, but I'm like, this guy's no finish. How's this going to be a long-term thing? Really?
Finish with no finish. Yeah.
but then you look at guys where I think like Stützle is a good example, right? Second year, he starts just popping off, and it's like, again, I don't know how elite he'll be, but I know this guy's going to be something, right?
I was going to say, even in his first year, you saw the skill. Like you at least saw the skill. The points weren't there, but you saw the skill. And then second year, the points started to kind of show up, and then it's kind of just progressed from there, right? Although I guess a little bit off topic. Speaking of which, I guess because we talked about the NFL Any thoughts on that Bills Ravens game last night?
Awesome.
Or
Awesome.
did you actually
Can I
watch
say this
it? 'Cause
again?
yeah,
As a
okay.
Panthers fan, it's like when you watch games like that, it's how I feel watching Florida Tampa in hockey. It's how sports should be played. When you like sports, okay, let me explain this to people. Like people that go, "Hey, like, why do you enjoy sports?" Sports played at its highest level is like human chess. It is a beautiful thing to watch, right? To me, it's the peak athleticism, the chess match that goes on, and this is in every sport, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever. The peak of it is it's amazing to watch. It's unfortunately, only a certain percentage is peak. There's a lot of dog shit you have to wade through before you get there. Trust me, I watch Panthers Jaguars. I know, but yeah, it's the peak of what like pro football looks like. Like that's what makes people fall in love with it, right?
I will say, as a Bills fan, I was watching. I don't know, like I was losing my mind for half the game last night. Because I think I was texting you pretty much
Yeah,
every
I kind
single
of
thing that was
started
going.
like just not responding to anything you said. Yeah,
Because you were just watching me melt down, and then I was texting a friend when that happened. I guess because the Henry fumble, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe we'll tie it. But like, I think the pessimistic part of me was like, well, we'll tie the game somehow, and then like the Ravens will just march down the field and kick the game-winning field goal, and then somehow despite allowing 40+ points, we got one random stop, and then I guess Josh Allen did Josh Allen things, and then. Can I say like Prater? I will take Prater over Bass any day of the week at this point, but I don't give a shit if he's 41. But yeah, I don't know. That game was definitely entertaining from I guess a neutral perspective, and then for a Bills fan, it was definitely a heart attack machine waiting to happen for
well,
me.
I think again when I talk about the pageantry, it's like you talk about Lamar versus Josh Allen, you talk about Derrick Henry, James Cook, you saw Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid looked really good. You saw Zay Flowers. It's just again, it's elite players at their peaks. Care like on a national audience, and that's what it is, right? I remember when I was a kid, like some of my favorite things were watching Randy Johnson, in that Yankee against the D-backs Yankees World Series. That's why we love watching the Four Nations, right? It's like best on best. It's these all-star teams that get compiled together that you wouldn't think about, right? And again, like all of that, sports at its highest level is a beautiful thing to watch. It's just unfortunately, again, just using another sport as example, or using hockey as an example, you get to watch Tampa, Florida, uh, you know, Edmonton, Florida. Unfortunately, there are games where you're going to be watching Chicago, Anaheim on a random Wednesday, being like, "What the fuck is this?"
I mean, I wouldn't even watch that. I look, I love hockey. Don't get me wrong. It's just at a certain point when you're watching that, I'd rather just tune into something else at that point. Like I just can't. That
Like
kind
I
of
said,
thing. Like, same thing with football, right? Like if it's
to get to
I'm
the
not gonna.
peak, unfortunately, you got to wade through the shit. That's just the reality. But yeah, all other sports aside, we're here to talk hockey. We're here to talk fantasy hockey because that's what we've been talking, kind of doing our season previews. Again, we got to wrap up our tiers, our fantasy hockey tiers. We've done the goalies, we've done the D-men, we've done the left wings, we've done the right wings. We finally got to get to the longest one and probably the one with the most depth. That's the center position. This one I think it's around 50 something players deep because basically
55. Exactly
55
55
players
players.
deep.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in some cases, we have third line centers. Some cases we have, it's really ranging depending on the team. It's kind of an interesting group of players, I will say. But fundamentally, if you want to pop up the tier list, we'll just get started. I think,
Yep.
and I posed this question to you when I first started compiling the guys we were going to put on the list. My first question was, is there ever if you have the number one pick, is there ever an argument to take a center that's not McDavid, right? And I asked you that, and you said no, but what was your reasoning for it?
I think with again McDavid. I think McDavid is just. I hate to say this, but he's just. I mean, not hate, but he's just he's just a class above everybody else, right? Like point per game wise, like I think he's 1.71 points per game in the last 3 years. Like if you like the difference between, for example, I'll do a quick example here. I think you're on my tab, but that's fine. So just a quick example here, like the difference between him and McKinnon, who's the next guy, is like 0.13. But then the difference between McKinnon and Draisaitl is 0.11. But then like after that, it's just like a massive drop off. And like, for example, I think the next guy after that is Austin Matthews. And again, really good player in his own right, but there's a massive drop off from like 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3, and then like 3 to 4, right? So it's just McDavid's just head and shoulders like above like everybody else. Like he'll get you goals, he'll get you assists. Like sure, he won't win you a ton of face-off, which I guess like, you know, as a center, if you're in a Cats league, which we are, for example, we're doing this mainly focused on the Cats leagues. Sure, he doesn't win you many face-offs, but he actually, you know, contributes enough hits for a guy that you would think is very skilled but doesn't hit very much. But like he hits a decent ton too. So like he covers pretty much like a ton of categories, and like his point production is just berserk.
Yeah.
So there's
his
no argument.
Point upside is such that even though there are guys that have higher goal scoring potential, I think it's just the point upside is just so high that you take it, and you can try your best to fill those other categories as you go. So I do agree with that. I was just curious just to see what your argument was, because I kind of felt the same way. If you're picking a center one, you're picking McDavid. It's interesting as you that question kind of helped like, you know, figure out my board a bit more if I was going to do redraft, where to me it's McDavid and Kucherov that are 1 and 2, and then you know, everybody else almost in a way, because the argument is, well, if you just want to, because again, we're 55 centers deep. Center's so deep, you could probably just take Kucherov and still get a really good center in the second round, say. Whereas if you take McDavid and number 1, I don't know if you'll get a good right winger. I don't know how good they'll be. Like, I don't know if the right winger you get in the second round will be as good as the center you'll get in the second round, is basically the gist of it. So it's for me, I think
we talked about this briefly. Yeah, I think we talked about this briefly with the whole Kucherov McDavid, right? It's funny because ironically, Kucherov's actually outproduced like McDavid the last 2 years. Like I think 144 to 132, and then I think last year was a 121 to I think 100. Like
he's
obviously
also played more games the last couple of years, which is interesting to think about.
Yeah, well, Kucherov's played about 5 more games than McDavid 2 years ago, and then last year he played I think 11 more. But even then, I'd still think like a 21 point gap, 11 games. I mean, it's still close enough where I think even if McDavid played the same amount of games as Kucherov, they might have been close enough. So I think that's why you mentioned in the last, I think it was last one, because I think we did right wings last, but I think there is actually a real argument for taking Kucherov 1 if you think you can draft a really, really good center with your next pick, or like even like let's say you draft a center. Let's say you don't even draft a center till like round 4 or 5 or even that kind of thing. You can still get a really good center, whereas the right wing drop off is a lot worse, right? The same thing with the left wing. The drop off is significant after the first 2 guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so yeah, again, let's just cut to it here. So tier 1 McDavid, again, we're talking about a guy who's 1.71 points per game the last 3 years. Goals per game too, not horrible. 0.54 goals per game the last 3 years. 1.1 hits. Somehow you were right. The last 3 years, the last 3 years, which is kind of crazy. Again, faceoffs are a bit lacking, but you can always fill faceoffs with guys later. The point upside is just so high that you just have to have him here. The tier 2 for me is just it's guys who are really good. These are guys that are going to be first round picks. They're just not Connor McDavid. It's similar to our right wings where we had Kucherov and just not Kucherov. These guys are just as good. Nathan McKinnon, Leon Draisaitl, and Austin Matthews. I'll just wait for you to slot them there before we discuss them a little bit here.
Okay, he's definitely not at least you're young. Sorry, this is because of how long the tier list is. I have to actually scroll and.
I know. That's why I'm like, I feel bad because I probably should have slowed down a little bit. You can see Draisaitl's in between Bennett.
Yeah. Sorry, there's just too many pictures. So this is a little bit worse.
I know.
There's so many pictures to
so
find these guys.
This is kind of interesting. I will say I do have Matthews behind the other 2, but still on the same tier. So there's a couple things here. Between McKinnon and Draisaitl, it really comes down to like what your preference is. Now, if you have Draisaitl with left wing eligibility, just take Draisaitl, no questions asked. But we're assuming that all 3 guys only have center eligibility here. If you want more goal scoring, you take Draisaitl because I think he has more goal. Again, the last 3 years, he has 20 more goals than McKinnon
in the same amount of games too, right? Right. And I think with Draisaitl as well, you also take him if you are leaning a bit more towards the faceoffs, because I will say 400 more faceoffs, like that's what roughly like 133 faceoffs more per year, kind of roughly around that range. If you're looking for that. And I mean, that might make a difference for you in certain weeks, right? So face-offs there too. I think you go with McKinnon if you just, I guess the higher point upside, the slightly higher point upside, right? So.
And like both these guys, again, knock on wood, there's no questions with durability. Both these guys have been pretty healthy. Yeah, it just comes down to preference as to whether you want the guy who gives you the potential for more goals and gives you a bit more faceoffs, or the guy that just gives you more point upside. Both these guys are in great situations, in terms of their power play, the players around them, their overall offenses. I don't have any concerns there. Matthews, now again, his upside is best center in the league, and again, this is just strictly fantasy. His upside is best center in the league. There are a couple concerns I have, which is why I can't drop him off this tier, but I do have him a bit lower because
it's mainly the injury concerns. I think for me, it's just the injury concerns. Like he just never plays a full. Like again, as a Leafs fan, so I see this a lot because I actually watch the Leafs games. He just never plays a full year. Like he's always like it's a shoulder injury. I think last year might have been the wrist. Like there was like the wrist or something. Like he's played what? He played 81 like 2 years ago. Last year only played 67. 3 years ago he played 74, 73 that other year. 52 I think was the 56 game.
That was the shortened season.
And 70. Like he's only played a full season I think once, which was his rookie year, and then I guess 2 years ago when he played almost a full season but one game, right? But he's never played a full season apart from that.
Yeah, but again, you see the upside with him where he's won the Rocket three of the last 5 years, right? And that's again and some of those years he won the Rocket, again, one of the years he won the Rocket, he only played 73 games, right? So there's the upside is there 100%. There's also a couple other concerns with the supporting cast where Marner not being there. Now, do I think it'll have a substantial effect? No, but there could be some effect to his goal scoring numbers, just that he doesn't have that playmaking wing in the vein of Marner. And he might be relied on to supply more of his own offense with Michelli there instead of Marner, right? So there's that possibility as well. Also, again, the lack of like elite power play defensemen, while it didn't hurt him a ton last year, I still have there's still some concerns with that power play, the power play personnel, compared to say Colorado and Edmonton, where I don't have any concerns about that. So again, they're very like minimal things, but when you're talking about describing elite players like this, it is enough to like ding them a little bit. But it's the health and the lack of and the not as good supporting cast as the other two I have a bit lower. But again, the upside on him is he's gonna lead the league in goals potentially. And here's the thing: it's a lot harder to find goals than assists. And when you have a guy who has 60 goal potential and was 2 years removed from hitting 69. You have to have him in this tier. There's no one else that can, like maybe Draisaitl has an outside shot at that, but there's no other one that provides 60 goal potential in this entire tier list the way Matthews does.
Well, I was gonna say if you look up 60 goal scorers if we look up 60 goal scorers in the NHL, right? Like for the last I think Matthews has done it twice in the last couple of years, but I don't remember if Pasternak did that one year, but I don't think there's been many guys that just have the ability to just hit 60, right?
Yeah. So and for that upside alone, and a guy that comes to close to 60, is gonna be a top 5 center without question. Like for me, you just have to have him here. Again, 2 years removed let me put this in perspective. He's 2 years removed from 0.85 goals per game. Do you know how insane that is? Like as a number?
Well, I was gonna say too, for the terms of 60 goal seasons, he's had 2 60 goal seasons. There's only been 2 other players that have had one, and it is Pasternak and McDavid, and Ovechkin had one a while back, but that was far enough back where I don't. And then I think Stamkos too had one a while back too, but that was maybe 10 plus years ago. So I guess within the last 5 years, there's only been 2 guys that have done it, and Matthews has done it the same amount of times as both of them combined. So
yeah, I do have him slightly below just because I think these are guys who are going to be in the first 7 picks of your first round ish. I do value just the floor a bit more, but I have no problem if you want to take maybe Matthews over McKinnon just to chase the upside. I have no issue with that really. You're just you're swapping floor for ceiling. These are the only guys I'd have on this tier. Was there anyone you think you'd move in here, or is that's kind of
no? I think honestly, if you have these 3 guys here, I don't want to say you need something special to be in this tier, but you essentially need something special. You do need some kind of you just need some insane
at minimum.
Nobody
all
else has
these
that.
guys provide you, they provide you points. Obviously, Matthews, Dress a little bit more in the goals, McKinnon a bit more on assists. Provide shots, they provide faceoffs. There's no red flags really with any of these guys, right? So moving on to the next tier. The next tier is what I call the great ones. So they're just guys who are still really good number one centers you can have. This is a long list. So Sidney Crosby, somehow still doing it at his age. Jack Hughes, Mark Scheifele.
Oh, there's so many pictures. Where's the Jets one?
Take your time.
I'm just looking for the Jets one. Ooh. Am I just blind? Holy smokes! Wait, I actually gonna have to do the scan by row. That's crazy. There you go. There's Scheifele. Got him.
Braden Point.
There's the Tampa one. Man, some of the pictures are easier to spot. Like Point, I don't know. Like you saw how quickly I spotted that.
He's very distinct.
Right? Yeah, Point's very distinct. Yeah.
Alexander Barkov.
Yes, I have another very distinct guy. He is definitely not in the other guys. Whoops, sorry about that.
He just has that that Russian thing to him. So yeah, Barkov, Jack Eichel.
Yeah, again, another very obvious one. I hate to say this, but like Eichel just is
those mustard uniforms, man.
It's not like that.
I know
but
people
like,
call them gold. I call them
looks...
Dijon. They're Dijon mustard to me.
Does Eichel just look stoned in his picture?
The last two are kind of like the entries I want to discuss a little bit. So JT Miller and Nick Suzuki.
All right, where's my boy Miller? Okay, I have to remember he's in a Rangers.
Very distinct. Again.
Yeah, I have to remember he's in a Rangers.
Shout out to the Rangers for actually getting him in their team jersey for the photo, by the way. Because we noticed a lot of teams haven't been doing that yet.
Yeah. Because I had a couple issues with some of the other, like, the right wing and left wing ones where I had to take a couple random pictures, but, like, we got all the pictures this time around, thank God. But
so, Crosby, to me, just the beacon of consistency. If you look up his numbers year to year, it's actually ridiculous how consistent he is. He's consistently over a point per game. He's consistently, like, I'm just pulling this up here quickly. You know, obviously he's not what his peak was, but he's been over a point per game his entire career, right? I mean, he's going to get you probably over 10 face-off wins per game. He's going to get you... His shots declined a bit last year, but I'm still going to say in the 2.85 to 3 shot per game range, he's ridiculously consistent. Honestly, like, the only reason I don't have him in that tier, just on the just not McDavid, is I don't think he has a goal scoring upside of Draisaitl or Matthews anymore. I don't think he has that over 100 point upside that the other. But again, still a really good player, and you can't go wrong. The only concern might be age, because he's going to be 38. But like everything else,
we keep saying that about him, right? But he's been one of the guys that I hate to say this, but he's defied the aging. Like, again, when you're 37, you're not typically putting up 90-point seasons. He's done it 3 years in a row. Like, he's been like, my supporting cast is declining. 90 points still. Like,
and even though, like, obviously Pittsburgh's undergoing a transition to a rebuilding team, the power play one and his line is still pretty good. He still has Rust. He still has Raquel. He still has one of Letang or Carlson on the power. Like, it's still a very capable power play and still a very capable initial line. So I don't have any concerns there. The only worry you do worry about, again, is aging. But I kind of feel the same way with him. I feel with Derrick Henry in fantasy football, where they're just such outliers. You just have to keep going with it until you're left holding the bag. Because at this point, I think I'm tired of just doubting what he can do. And again, the numbers are just so consistent year over year, with some variation, obviously, to shooting percentage and primary versus and like secondary assists. You know, they fluctuate year to year, but everything else is just so consistent. To me, I think he's honestly, I know it's just controversial. I think he's at the top of this tier.
Well, it's funny because I think he's been a top 5 like scoring center the last essentially the last 3 years, right? I think he is 4th. So his production is still technically there. The problem is he just doesn't, I think, like you said, he doesn't have the 100-point upside. But I mean, if he hits you 90 every year, it's pretty damn close enough, right? And again, you mentioned the face-offs. I actually do think he's won
over 10 a game for his career. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, if you look at face-offs in the last 3 years, he's, I think, 300. He's like almost 400 up on the next guy, and the gap from the next guy to the one after him, I think, is like 30-something face-offs, where so it goes from Crosby to the next guy, which is 400, and then 30 for the guy after Crosby, and then the guy after the guy who's after Crosby, right? So I'm not going to spoil any names here, but it's just, again, the faceoffs are there. The hits is close enough too. Like, he almost gives you a hit a game for a guy who, again, with the older guys, you will worry a little bit because, again, physicality, their bodies are getting older. You don't want them just to, you don't want them hitting a ton and, like, just getting hurt on random plays. But again, he still gives you that. You mentioned the shots are declining a bit. Again, it's declined a little bit, but it's still more than enough to justify taking him. Kind of just gives you just all around coverage. Like, you can't go wrong with all around coverage.
The next three I kind of lump together for different reasons. It's kind of weird. The next four, I'd say. So Hughes and Barkov are, again, I don't have these two necessarily ahead of other guys, but I want to discuss them both. Both these guys are really good. They're both point per game. They're multifaceted. The issue is health. Hughes misses. I can't think of a year where Hughes hasn't missed games, to be honest. Every year, like, you look at the last couple years with Jack Hughes, 62 games, 60. He's never played 82 in his career. And he's
the closest
missed.
he ever has was I think the 78 year, right?
Yeah.
So that year he played 78.
Like, his rate numbers are really good. He's over, again, like I said, he's over a point per game ever since his second year in the league. He's been over a point per game. Ever since his second year, he's been over 3 shots per game. Faceoffs are a bit of an issue with him as well, which is why I have him a little bit lower than some of the other guys. But the upside is there. He's only 23. It's just, I have him lower than some of these other guys just because of the health and the lack of faceoff wins, but everything else is really good. Barkov is a point per game. Again, his issue is just, it's a little bit of the health. Surprisingly, for a guy you think plays the full 82 a lot, he hasn't really been as healthy as you'd think the last couple seasons. Again, 67 games last year, 73 the year before, 68, 67. Yeah. But again, over a point per game when he does play. The shots are a little bit lower with him, so that's a little bit tricky. But again, a ton of faceoffs with him. So it just kind of depends what you want to pick here. Both Hughes and Barkov are kind of similar to me, where, they're kind of the same guy in different ways. It's just, do you value the faceoff wins more, or do you value the shots more? Just whichever one you want to pick between the two.
But they both come with point upside. It's point upside or faceoff wins, right? Because Barkov will, if he's healthy enough, he'll get you. I'm going to say roughly 80 points. Roughly, he's going to be point per game because he's not going to play the full 82. So I'm going to say 80 in that range. He'll get you 80 points. I think Hughes does. I think
Hughes has more point upside than Barkov.
Yeah, he has the 100 point upside, but he's going to give you jack shit faceoffs. Like, you're not. Yeah. Again, he's probably going to get left wing eligibility at some point, realistically, I think, just because I think the Devils are just going to let Heischer, or probably Heischer's probably going to be is realistically going to be the number one center, because you'd rather have that guy taking faceoffs than Jack Hughes, because I don't think I've ever seen a year where Hughes has. Hold on, I have to pull this up, but I think based on his faceoff wins for Hughes, I don't even think he's won. Hold on, yeah, he's all the way down here with 533 faceoff wins, so he basically wins you less than 200 a year. So
I also think Florida, and you notice this with Paul Maurice, as they start to scale into the year, he kind of starts to, later in the year, the average time on ice for Barkov did dip a little bit as the year went on. So I think that's just something to bear in mind as well. It's a small thing, but again, I think it matters, which is why I'd say I'd kind of have these guys not necessarily right below Crosby. The guys I'd have above, just because I value the floor a bit more. One I think the second best guy this year is Eichel. I'm just going to say this now. Eichel was already really good the last couple years. If you look at Eichel's numbers, he's been in, like, you'd be surprised how good he is. He's been over a point per game the last 2 years. He's been, over 3 shots on goal per game, 3.5 since he's been in Vegas, 3.6 shots per game, over a point per game, 6.34 faceoff wins per game. And here's the upside to him too. Them signing Marner and giving him a playmaking wing. He's really, yes, he had Stone, but Marner's on a whole other level of playmaking wing. Having that on the power play plus on his own line 5-on-5, I think can boost his numbers up. At least the goal side potentially. Because we talked about the effect with Dorofeyev. I think it's going to be the same potentially with Eichel. And I think there's upside for his point totals to be even higher. Now, again, he kind of fits in that Hughes Barkov mold where the durability is a little bit of an issue, but it feels less of an issue for me than with the other two. So I'm gonna have him here just above, again, above Hughes and above Barkov because I get the shots. I don't get as many faceoff wins as Barkov, but I still get them, and I think I have more point upside now that Marner's come there. Um, and I don't know. Do you have any disagreement there?
I think another guy maybe I'd have above the, I guess, like another guy I'd have close to Eichel's probably Point, like Braden Point. I think there are question marks with Point because his lack of shooting is a bit of a concern. And I think, again, the face-off wins with, I think, like Point's never been he's historically never been like an amazing kind of face-off guy. So, again, bit of issues there. But I think the last like couple years, again, like 95 points, 90 points, like he had 82 was kind of like a bit of a down year, but he still had 42 goals, right? So I'd say maybe with Point, I could maybe lean a little bit more towards the goal. Like there might be a little bit more goal upside there, but I think the shooting percentage has been like over 20% the last 3 years. At a certain point, it's like, I know people say like shooting 20% kind of seems unrealistic, but when you've done it 3 years in a row, like I wonder if at a certain point you just have to accept that
no,
is,
I kind of
like,
feel the same
norm.
way with Mark Scheifele as well because if you look at his last 3 years, it's like 20.4, 16.2, 21.7, career 17.2. At a certain point, I just have to take it for what it is, right? Like that's just gonna be what it's gonna be. So yeah, if Hughes and Point are Point and Scheifele, I think I'd have above Hughes and Barkov as well, just because I think I value the floor and like say what you want about Scheifele, he doesn't have maybe the shot totals of like a guy like Hughes, but the durability the last 3 years, 82 games, 74 games, 81 games. It's his team, like his power play is set in stone. It's going to be Morrissey, who's one of the best he's one of the best defensemen in the league offensively. He's going to be quarterbacking it. He's still going to have Kyle Connor with him. There's still going to be Mark Scheifele. And you can fill out the other, and Velarde is also a pretty good passer as well. You can fill out the other spot with Perfetti or whoever, it doesn't matter. Like they're going to be fine. Point obviously is one of the best supporting casts in the league. I just value the durability a little bit more with both those guys. Where I don't think like I'm willing to sacrifice a bit of shots with those two compared to Hughes just to get the durability and the more games played. I think and the face-off wins as well.
Makes sense. So I think the two guys you wanted to discuss, you mentioned were Miller and Suzuki, right? I think those two you were kind of you wanted to debate.
Miller's
if they were
interesting because I think he's the most well-rounded of this tier. Where again, if I pull up his Vancouver years, right? So 6 years in Vancouver, we're talking about a point per game. We're talking around 7.6 face-off wins, 2.2 hits per game, like that, and 2.42 shots on goal per game. That plays. That is like the most well-rounded profile of anyone in this tier. Now, there are a little bit of concerns with his little stint in New York during that time, because while he was a point per game, the shots did fall a bit. But I'm not as concerned about that, weirdly. And I do think there's an argument to have him here just because he provides a level of coverage that I don't think you get from anyone else in this tier, where it's just he provides everything. The only issue I do have is trying out Trocheck's.
Hits a ton. He just hits a ton too. I think that's just that's an underrated factor with him. Is like a lot of these guys don't like they have okay hit numbers, but they just don't have anything crazy. Like I think the amount of hits that Miller is like in terms of the centers we have in this tier list, I think he's second for like hits in the last 3 years, right? He's only 6 off the guy at the top. And again, he gives you that kind of face off, like when he gives you a decent face off win coverage. And I think one of the things that, again, maybe people don't rate him for as much as, again, his point production, right? He has been point per game essentially the last couple of years. So he gives you point per game coverage, gives you face offs, gives you a crap ton of hits. I think it's fine to have him on this tier because I think he might not have the same point upside necessarily as some of the guys in this tier list, but like essentially, or some of the guys on this tier, but essentially he is point per game. And some of these guys on this tier list are essentially like point per game guys, right? So if you're going to have those guys on here, I think you have to kind of have Miller on here as well.
The interesting thing too is durability. For a guy that's so physical, the last couple of years of Vancouver, 80 games, 81 games, 81 games. Last year was 72. My only bit of concern I was going to ask you about this is those numbers with New York where the shots on goal per game went down to 1.72. The face-off wins went down to 6.84. Like, are there any concerns with? And obviously, Trocheck potentially being line one with Miller being line two. Although Pedersen was line one in Vancouver, I don't. Do you have any concerns, or are you just writing that up to like, just him moving to a new team midway through the season kind of thing? Or
I think I'd just be a little bit cautious because again there is a
right,
bit of concern because I think the Rangers, obviously if you're the Rangers, you went out and acquired him because you want him to be a big part of your team, right? So him only having 55 shots in 32 games is a little bit of a concern. But I think even in Vancouver, it wasn't necessarily that great either, right? Like he only had 82 shots in 40 games in Vancouver before the trade. So I
yeah,
don't know
I
if
think
it's
there is a
maybe
difference though with above 2 shots on goal per game and below. I think once you get below it, it gets a little tricky regardless,
but
right?
I think the point there is it like there is a decline regardless of even if it's still above two, right? Like there's still a bit of a decline compared to the previous 2 years. So I don't know. It's something to keep an eye on because I don't know if it's if a 35 game sample size is enough for me to like just be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't feel like drafting him this year because the point upside is like the point upside for him is still there. But I would just keep an eye on that and just watch for that. And I would probably just maybe keep an eye on, I guess, when the Rangers training camp rolls around, just keep an eye and see like kind of what, like I guess which line he does end up landing on. Like I think daily
I think
faceoff
he'll
currently
be
does.
fine either way. I would just love him a lot more if he ended up on line one. Like, if you
Yeah,
remember last year too, the Panarin, Lafreniere, Miller line last year was one of the best rated lines when it played during that time in terms of, I think, expected goals for percentage. So I'd be kind of curious to see if they go back to it. But again, with the new coach, with Mike, I'm curious to see what Mike Sullivan does. Um, as he, as the season goes along. But yeah, just overall, I think the coverage here just puts him on this tier. And Nick Suzuki, like the last 2 years, 2 years ago was 0.94 points per game. Last year was point per game. Um, Again, the shots are a little bit lower than I'd like. It's barely over two. I think it's been 2.1 and then 2.26 the year before. He's never gonna be a high volume guy, which compared to the other guys, I have to have him lower. But the supporting cast is a lot better. You now with Hudson, Demidov, him, Caulfield on power play one. There's a potential for the point totals to be a little bit higher. The I didn't know how I felt about having here, but I felt like the last 2 years, even though the shot totals are a little bit concerning, the increased supporting cast and the point per game last year and the trajectory is enough for me to put him here, I think.
yeah. I was gonna say I think that I do wonder if he didn't get to. I think if he didn't maybe get to 80 points last year, I maybe wouldn't have him in this tier. But I think because he got to 89, and then with all the factors you mentioned, with better supporting cast, I mean the shots are still above two. Like yes, it's barely above two, but I feel like being at least above two gives you enough. Like not I'm not gonna say enough credibility, but like gives doesn't concern me as much because I think if it was below two, then I'd definitely be kind of concerned. Maybe I wouldn't have him on this tier if he was below
Mm-hmm.
two, but it's above two. He basically almost got to 90 points, better supporting cast. I think in terms of face-off wins, he's not necessarily again, he's not the best, but like he's not the kind of guy where he's going to sink you, right? Like again, like the last 3 years, like I think he's essentially been like a top 15 center in face-off wins, right? So he'll get you some there, right? So he gives you kind of some okay like coverage there. So like there's nothing. It's not where he's just solely reliant on the points and he needs to shoot more, right? So he gives you enough coverage elsewhere that it's not, for me, I'm not as concerned about it.
Yeah. All right. And was there anyone you think you'd want to have in this tier otherwise, or are you good with it?
See, it's tough here because so there was two guys I was looking at. I think we may possibly have them in the next year. So I think similar boat. So for me, one of them is Robert Thomas. So Thomas is an interesting one because the shot totals from him, I've had him for I think the last 2 years. So I guess I'm a little bit more familiar with him than most
Matchbox
guys.
20 himself.
Matchbox 20 himself. His shot totals have always kind of concerned me. Like he's always been the last couple. I think his first couple of years in the league, he barely had I think he had like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 kind of shots like per game, which is kind of not great, right? But the last 2
His
years,
career average is 1.56.
yeah, the last 2 years have been a little bit better. I think 170 shots in 82 games, so that's I think just above 2 shots a game.
I
Last year,
think the only reason
barely
I
above.
don't have Thomas in this tier is one, there's not a lot of, and part of this has to do with his shooting numbers. There's not a lot of goal scoring upside with him, which is where Suzuki's hit 30 goals the last 2 years. Thomas hasn't hit it once, and part of that has to do with his lack of shooting. Right? They go, and again, why when people go, why are you guys so fixated on shots per game and stuff like that? There's a correlation between guys who score a lot and guys who shoot a lot. You can't deny it, right? And the last 2 years, he's just barely inched over 2 shots on goal per game. He has been a point per game the last 2 years, but I think it's you don't get again. He's around. I think like faceoff wins. He's been over 10 the last years. The faceoff wins are good. It's just the lack of goal scoring upside and the lack of shot upside just has me a bit less high on him than all the other guys in this tier. And that's why I have him again. We talk about just outside. It's just outside. If that shot total, if like say next year he starts to move it up to 2.5, 2.6, then he's still a point per game, and those goal totals maybe he finally gets over 25. Now we're in a different conversation, I think. So that's why I have him on the just outside.
That's fair. I was just wondering, maybe this is another name to mention.
Who was the second one?
So I guess it was Sebastian Aho. That's another one I'm a little bit interested in. Like again, I don't.
Aho's weird because I've been like, I don't know. I know this is not a fantasy related argument, but do you ever feel just he's so consistent, but do you ever just feel underwhelmed sometimes? So Aho is interesting because I think the issue with me was like, I don't know what to make of last year.
I was gonna say even last year though, like I guess like if you think last year was like a down, it's kind of weird because the 2 of the last 3 years have been kind of off with him. But like I think the last couple of years, like he's hit 80 points a couple times before that. But I think
he's been consistent. Like he's been over 30 goals 5 years.
It's weird. Yeah, he's in a really weird boat for me because he's not super great at face-offs. Like so he wins a decent amount. He doesn't hit a ton. He shoots just enough. Like he does get like above 2 shots a game. Like he's hit 200 shots basically like the last like 4 years. And like I guess the year where there was the shortened season where it was only 56 games, he probably would have gotten to 200 if it was like an 82 game season, right? He's so consistent, but like I guess maybe the point totals the last 2 years like maybe kind of soured my outlook on him slightly. Like if he was an 80 point, I feel like if he was an 80 point guy, or if he was at least 80 point like point per game kind of guy, like I would maybe have him in this tier as a great one because like that kind of level of consistency, like again, like when I feel like when you're taking, I'd rather take swings on guys later, right? I hate taking swings at guys on the top. I'd rather just get the guaranteed kind of like consistency that, or the guaranteed stats that you're going to get out of a lot of these guys, right? And Aho is one of those guys for me, right? Like if you weren't looking at the last two of the last 3 years, then you could say like, yeah, he's pretty much a lock for like, pretty much 80 points if he stays healthy, right? And he'll give you a decent face-off wins, decent shot coverage, and he's not going to hurt you anyway, right? So like he would be at the very bottom of great ones, but I think it's the last 2 years where I'm now. I think maybe he's probably
last 3 years because
2 of the last 3 years
he was 89 points.
Yeah, 2 years ago he was 89 points, but I think two of the last 3 years, have kind of soured my outlook a little bit. Maybe it has him in the tier below now just because of those 2 years. Although maybe if he has another good year this year, he might be able to get back to the bottom of great ones. For me.
I think my thing with Aho is I always thought, and this may be the difference, is like I always thought, and this isn't something quantifiable, but I kind of feel like he's already hit his ceiling almost in a way. Like that 89 point year was his ceiling in a way, which is again really good ceiling to have, don't get me wrong. But again, the issues I think I have with Aho are last year was a little bit concerning because when I look at the numbers across the board, the shots weren't down substantially, so that wasn't an issue. It's just the lack of supporting cast definitely hurt. And you see it this year. Yes, they added Ehlers, but there's still a lack of power play quarterback on the Hurricanes. I mean, like people are going to say it is Goss to spare, sure. But I mean, compared to some of the other guys on where you're looking at like, again, JT Miller as Fox, Suzuki as Hudson, Hughes as one of Hamilton or his brother, Scheifele as Morrissey. Like there's just the supporting casts to me are just a lot better. And again, I just don't think he has the same line mates, especially if Jarvis is going to play center potentially. If it's going to be Svechnikov, Ehlers, and Aho, that's good. But I don't think it's, again, the overall quality is the same. And like, if you want to have him at 1, sure. I just don't think he has the upside that some of the other guys do. But I'm fine with it either way. I
I
like
think
to me.
I think okay. I think we'll do this. I think if he does get back to that point per game kind of 80 point kind of range, I think it's fine to have him in great. Like we can have him in great ones next year. Like I think like just at the very bottom of it. I think that's probably the most fair assessment. But if he has like another year, one of the years where he had last year or the one 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, sorry, then maybe I think keeping him, I guess, because spoiler
I
alert,
also did
he's in an S
have
tier.
concerns with how his production tailed when Rantanen was there. Like they both did not work together, and I am with him with Ehlers. I am a little bit of a wait and see. So that's the other reason. Because
That's fair.
something's
I don't
weird
know.
with Carolina. I can't just always assume that whoever gets plugged in there is just going to work the way they did in other teams. It's really weird.
I think it does kind of scare me too because Ranson is like that high level of a player, right? That the fact that he couldn't,
Mhm.
like, you plugged him in and he couldn't make. I don't want to say he couldn't make it work, but like he didn't make it work that well,
Like
right? That
he
scares
didn't
me.
work, but Gensel did, which was kind of weird. And then again, it's gonna be he's a wait and see for me, which is why I didn't like the guys in great ones. I just have full confidence in taking them as my first center. Aho, I feel less so just because there are some concerns there. So that's why I have him on the just outside. And Robert Thomas, like I said, it's and you can add them there now if you want. It's the Robert Thomas. It's the lack of goal upside and lack of shots. But
I
again,
think maybe if he gets a third, if Thomas gets a 30 this year, then maybe we can have him again. Maybe he's another one who can have at the bottom of great ones. I think I would like to see a bit more goals out of him. But if he does get to 80 points again, like it is a little bit of a harder argument to keep him off next year. I think, right? Like
for
if
sure,
he does do it again, the third year in a
yeah.
row, third time's the charm. I like to say.
Um, I thought the guy you'd make an argument for was Larkin, funnily enough. But I so Larkin I have on the just outside. We'll just talk about him here now. You can start adding these guys slowly while we discuss. So Larkin's weird. He's only hit point per game once in his career, once in his career, but he's been 0.96 or higher 3 other times. So it's not an issue of production with him. He's a really solid player. Like you get over his career, he's at 2.98 shots per game. He's at around 7.89 faceoffs per game. It's just the point upside just hasn't been there the same it is with the guys in tier one. So for that reason alone, like you look at the last couple of years, he's never hit 80 points in his career once. Right? But he's a really solid floor. He has a really solid floor as your center. He's probably going to be again the last couple of years point per game in 68 games, a 0.85, 0.99. He's going to be probably in that zero point 0.9 point per game range. He's firmly entrenched as the number one center. There is nobody close right now on Detroit. He's firmly entrenched on the power play. He's going to get you faceoffs. He's going to get you shots. He just doesn't have the point upside that the other guys and great ones do. But he's a really good player.
Yeah, he's kind of close because like I think it's the point upside that worries me. But I think one of the weird things is he does have the goal, not the goal upside, but like he's been a consistent 30 goal guy, right? The last 4 years he's hit 30, right? So he does have more goal upside than like
Robert
some of the guys.
Thomas
Like Rob Thomas again, a guy that I was gonna put in, or I kind of at least have more of an inkling to put in great ones, right? So like he does have the edge over Thomas in that. I think again, it's like you mentioned, it's the fact he hasn't hit 80 points has me like not souring on him a little bit, but I'm a little bit less high on him for that reason. Like maybe
and
if he
the
does get to
supporting
80,
cast isn't such where like you think it would substantially change unless Raymond and Sider like asking for a lot of ifs here, but if those guys take leaps, maybe. But outside of that, but again, I think honestly Larkin's just a really good like if you're talking about second center on your fantasy team, Larkin's really good. There's just he's such a safe floor guy. And compared to some of the other guys in this tier, like I have him ahead of Thomas. I guess Thomas has the upside, but like the floor of Larkin is just so good.
well, the floor. I think the floor of Larkin is just safer, right? Like again,
Yeah,
higher floor, lower ceiling. Thomas
yeah,
is like lower floor, higher ceiling, right? I think that's
yeah,
what it is for
exactly.
Thomas. So I guess
Um,
I'll throw Thomas in there as well. We've kind of talked about him a bit, so I'll throw him in this tier as well. Might
yeah,
as well. So
and then
80 point
we
guy
also
pretty
talked
much.
about Aho. I think Aho is also a safe floor guy as well. It's just I question the upside a little bit. Kind of the same with I'd say him and Larkin are kind of the same. You could go either way. I like um again, both I think are fine. As your number 2 center, those are both great options. The other couple guys I have here, so Sean Monahan. So here's a couple things with Sean Monahan. His first year in Columbus was about as successful as it could be. We're talking about over a point per game, despite missing time, by the way. Over a point per game, 2.37 shots on goal per game, 11.4 face-off wins per game. Like that, all those numbers, rate stats are insane. And also, if you look at the advanced analytics, his line with Marchenko, Chinnikov, and him was one of the most productive lines by expected goals for percentage in the league. It's frightening. And honestly, too, Columbus's offense is really good. For people that don't know, I think that, again, we talked about they were 11th in expected goals last year. Their power play with him, Werenski, Marchenko, you Boone Jenner, and insert anybody else should be really good next year. The only concerns I have with Monahan is this was by far probably outside of, he's never been a point per game outside of his 2018-2019 year with Calgary. So it's the only other time he's ever done this. He's only done this in his career one other time. So there is a little bit of track record issue. The other thing, too, is he only played 54 games. So while he did look really good in those 54 games, you kind of want to see it again before you move him up. And the other thing, too, is Adam Fantilli was, a top 3 pick on their team that they drafted. He's supposed to be the future of the team, and he's their number 2 center. So while I don't think there's that rush to move him with how he's playing, if he comes out of the gate slow and Fantilli comes out hot, you do have those concerns about maybe he slots from 1C to 2C or something along those lines. So there are some concerns there, but if he replicates what he did last year over 82 games, to me, he's easily in that great ones conversation. But it's just, I need more track record, and there is that concern about Fantilli that I don't have with, who's behind Dylan Larkin, Sebastian Aho, and Matchbox 20. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're Columbus, you don't draft Adam Fantilli to just keep him as a center too, right? So like I guess there's a chance
power play too,
yeah. So like at some point, like there's a chance he gets on power play 1. I guess the question is, does he maybe keep line 2, go on power play 1, and then if Monahan keeps line 1, power play 1, great, right? Because I don't know if they're going to do the Voronkov, Monahan, and Marchenko line again. I don't know if Voronkov will be that high up the lineup again.
Sorry, Voronkov. I was thinking Chinnikov or something.
It might be. They might do Chinnikov, although Chinnikov's also requested a trade too. So I have no idea what Columbus is planning to do. And also Ken Johnson's kind of there too, right? So I have no idea what see, this is one of those weird problems where you almost have too many guys that are like you can put up the lineup, and you're kind of like, well, what do we do, right? So I guess it's a nice problem to have your Columbus, but I'm kind of curious to see what his line situation is apart from Marchenko. Like I'm curious to see who his other line mate is. So that may have some impacts on may have some slight impacts to his production. Also, Monahan, we haven't seen him. He hasn't produced to this level since his I want to say his Calgary.
Yeah, 2018, 2019. Yeah, 2018.
That's crazy, damn. And even that year, I don't want to say that's an outlier year, but like that's pretty much an outlier compared to his other Calgary years, like the other years.
That's what I'm saying. Calgary, it hasn't been done, and I kind of had if in our fantasy league, I remember I picked him up off waivers. I drafted Fantilli. I didn't even take him. And then I found out he was going to be 1C, and I'm like, okay, well, let's give this a try. And he blew my expectations. It's just, he's the one that I think has the most risk attached of this tier, but he has probably one of the better profiles as well if he keeps it up. Weirdly, I also think you can get Monahan on a lower value than some of the other guys this year because he's just less of a name category, less of a name player.
He has less name value, right? Again, you're not I think people are going to be more enamored with for example Larkin, Thomas, and even Aho. Those guys just have 100% higher value. But again, Monahan, again, probably I almost want to say, probably had higher point per game production than I think pretty much all of them, except maybe Thomas. It might have been close between it. It might be the exact same between the two, but so again, he's the only guy in this year that he was close enough to, or at least Thomas is the only guy that's on this year that's close enough to Monahan's point production, right? And again, there is obviously, I want to say there is a little bit of injury risk with Monahan too. Again, he's not been the most healthy guy necessarily.
Yeah. I think he's one of those floor ceiling guys, but I do think the profile overall last year, if you look at rate stats, was just really, and he honestly it backed it up on the ice too. Like him, Marchenko, and whoever on left wing was just a really good combination. And like I said, it's a good supporting environment, which again, like it's a better supporting environment than Detroit. And I'd honestly argue, here's my hot take. It's a better supporting environment than Carolina. Like I know Carolina has the Rod Brindamore system where they throw a lot of shots on goal, they pepper, they just, produce chances, but if you look at the individual player talent, Rod Brindamore definitely has them swinging above their weight. Um, but anyways, moving on to the other guy here, your boy John Tavares. Look, is he gonna turn 35? Yes. Does he move like molasses on the ice? Yes. But you're talking about over zero point 0.9 points per game. Surprisingly durable for a guy as old as he is. In his career with the Leafs, he's been over 3 shots on goal per game, over 7 faceoff wins per game. He's firmly entrenched line 2, power play 1. Because here's the truth with the Leafs depth. Outside of Nylander, Marner, Matthews,
Well, not Marner anymore, but
sorry, Nylander, Matthews, and Tavares.
Tavares, yeah.
Sorry, there's the rest. Like those are the only 3 entrenched spots on the power play 1 right now. So he's not going to be bumped off anytime soon unless he declines. Again, the only concern is that he doesn't have his own. He's not line 1, but he's produced despite it, and he's on one of the better power plays in the league. He's going to be on a high-scoring team. The Leafs are routinely, say what you want about them in the playoffs, but they're routinely one of the higher-scoring teams in the league during the regular season. And he was 0.99 points per game despite the coaching change to what people would have considered a more defensively responsible system in Craig Berube's. I don't have any concerns here outside of potential age decline, but like you can't predict that. And his game isn't the type that I worry about athleticism because it's not like he's not moving slow now. So it's
I think I do have some slight concerns with Tavares as a Leafs fan. So again, his shots did take a significant decline, right? So he played 5 less games, but he also had like 79 less shots in the year prior, right? So that has to be concerned a little bit. The shooting percentage was at 19%, a good 9% higher than I think 2 years ago. But I almost think 2 years ago was a little bit of an outlier year because I do think he is like at least a 0.8, 0.9 point per game player. So like that season 2 years ago was a little bit of an outlier. So if you want to compare him to the season that was like 3 years ago, like I am a little bit concerned still because again, shooting percentage was 6% higher than that year, 77 less shots than that year. Like there are some concerns about that. Like you do have to watch out for that kind of stuff. I can't just straight up ignore it because although I do wonder if losing Marner, like you do lose losing a lot more talent on the team. Like I do wonder if he has to just step up and like maybe he just shoots a bit more. Maybe like he has to like do a bit more. So maybe that might help balance it out. So I'm a little bit curious about that. But again, with a guy like Tavares, you're going to get a decent chunk of face-off wins too. He actually hits quite a bit too, surprisingly. Like it's funny because I looked at his stats and like I think in his Islanders days he wasn't like very physical, but I think once he got to Toronto, like he started to like more than a hit per game kind of essentially. So he does give you decent coverage.
It's the Leaf bed sheets,
Apparently it's Leaf. Apparently it's just the Leaf bed sheets. I don't know what it is, but apparently that does the trick, right? So hey, apparently that works.
But yeah, I have him here. I don't, again, outside the age, and you mentioned like the potential declines a little bit, but I want to give him a year because I just want to figure out if it was a 1 year thing or if this is just going to be what it is going forward in Berube's system. But even if that is what it is going forward, around 2.5 shots on goal per game, near a point per game, over 7 faceoffs. That's still for a 2 center on a fantasy team. That's pretty good. It's just, again, I don't think you're getting the absolute upside of some of the other guys in the tier above, but again, you're not drafting him the same place you're drafting the other guys, so it's fine. Another guy in this tier, so the other guy in this tier I had here, Nico Hischier, just the last 3 years, remarkably consistent. He's basically been as close to a point per game as you can be without being at a point per game. 0.99, 0.94, 0.92. He's usually he had 1 year we had 3.16 shots on goal per game. That's more an outlier. He's more of around a 2.5 shots on goal per game guy. He'll get you a ton of faceoffs. He's around over 8.5 for his entire career.
And I think he's the guy I mentioned that like is right behind Crosby in faceoff. It's like he's the guy that's number 2. So
okay. And the only downside is his upside's curbed because Jack Hughes is their number one center, and he's gonna be like Keisher's pretty much just gonna be on line two unless they move Jack Hughes to the wing because of his lack of face-off ability, and then maybe move Keisher. But I think
that actually is a real possibility though, because I think that the
for sure
Devils have done that,
and there is that
like,
upside there. But I think it also affects their line distribution because they're not going to put Mercer at line two. I think for now, but so again, there is some upside there, but right now we just have to take it what it is. I don't think he's ever supplanting Hughes, but if Hughes does get hurt, he does get to slot into center one, and that is something.
And Hughes always gets hurt. That's kind of,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but he always gets hurt. So like there's going to be a point in the season where Nico Hischier has line one. Like we just don't know when.
But yeah, I think he's just a steady player. I don't have any, it's one of those things where, again, as your 2C, he's kind of in that Tavares mold for me. Honestly, his numbers to Tavares, I know Tavares is a bit more point per game-ish, but like the numbers to Tavares are kind of very similar, almost. Like if you're talking about, again, taking away that outlier, like if you're talking about last year's Tavares versus last year's Hischier, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, they shoot it. I mean, decent amount of shots. I will
just if you look at
Heschier's got the edge of face-off wins. Heschier's got the edge of face-off wins for sure.
Like, let me pull this up from last year just to put this in perspective. Here, hold on. I just want to grab this here. So, if you look at their numbers just last year, so Tavares was 0.99 points per game on 2.67 shots per game, 7.28 face-off wins, right? Hischier, same, 0.99. Sorry, let me just adjust this here 1 second. Just want to make sure. Sorry, 0.92, 2.49 shots on goal per game, and then face-off wins were just a lot higher, 13.2. But it's kind of like that profile is very similar. I think you get more face-off wins but less points, and it's like, what's your trade-off, right? But yeah, and they're both 2Cs that, barring injury, aren't going to supplant the guys on line one, but they're both firmly entrenched on power play one. So I don't, again, with Tavares and Hischier, it's just like, I think the Leafs have the better system to maximize points, but the Devils have more upside because their team's just younger, and Hischier's just...
Well, also, Hischier's not going to see any decline, I'd hope, at 26. So
yeah.
I guess that's the other thing there. It's like, if you want to see, I'd probably go Hischier for a little... I'd probably take him because he's more of the safe pick, but Tavares probably has a little bit... It's weird because he's the older guy. I wouldn't say more upside, but more point upside, I'd say.
Yeah. And the last guy on this tier, Tomas Hertl. Man, okay, can I say this? I know that, like, I thought Hertl was really good last year. Is that... He didn't put up the point totals of these guys, but again, you're talking about, like, the overall coverage. 1.36 point per game, 7.34 faceoff wins, over almost 2.5 shots, 0.84 points per game, and hit 32 goals last year. He was really good. And the coverage, again, overall well-rounded coverage was really good. Only 31, so he's younger than he's younger than Tavares, but he again, a couple things with him. One, he doesn't have the point. He might have more goal scoring upside than some of these guys. Doesn't have the point upside because it hasn't been proven as of yet.
Also, he doesn't have line. He's not going to have line one because
exactly
Eichel's kind of firmly entrenched there. And the other concern I do have about him is there was an 18.1 shooting percentage, and like he's not been known as like a high shooting percentage.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
So that's the one thing I am a little bit worried about. Like, sure, like if you like the 6 games he played with Vegas last year, that he had an 18.2, but like again, that's a 6-game sample size, so a little bit different there. I think the only
with him, I think the issue just comes down to like I want to see what it looks like in Vegas for another year before I really start to make moves. But that floor production last year, even though it might have been buoyed by an outlier shooting percentage, for now puts him here, I think. And again, he's kind of similar to Hischier and Tavares in terms of firmly entrenched as second line center, firmly on power play one, but isn't going to dethrone the guy that's line one unless an injury happens, right? And I think these 3 guys kind of all have that, whereas the other 4 guys are all firmly line one, power play one on their respective teams, and there's just more upside when you have those opportunities, right?
So I guess in terms of order, would you go Hischier, Tavares, then Hertl, or would you go Tavares, Hischier, Hertl? I feel like Hurdle is probably the one at the bottom, but
I think Heishier Tavares you can have either way. I
okay,
like taking the guy that's younger, so I'd probably go
fair.
Heishier.
That's
But
why I
New
was.
Jersey just feels like a mess sometimes. Like they're
Eh,
always figuring
I'll
out.
take I'll take the
They're
upside
just
that Jack
always
Hughes gets
figuring
hurt.
out like they're every besides Hughes and Heishier, they're figuring out and Bratt, they're figuring out everything else as they go. Whereas I feel like with the Leafs, they're kind of a little bit more like everything's a bit more defined, which I do like. But I always just take the younger guy because I always just value the potential upside. That's just me.
That's fair. I think I had it Heishier Tavares Hurdle too. I put it there before on the screen before
And
I
then the other
asked,
guys,
but
I think it's like Aho Larkin. You could have either way. I'm not picky. But I do think they're behind them, and I think I just the upside of Monahan and what he did last year. I just rather have over Thomas. But I could see again. I could see the argument for Thomas as well. Like,
yeah, I think Monahan's upside last year was a lot higher. But again, I think with Thomas has had been more consistent the last few years because obviously between Monahan's injuries and like him having the bouncing around between teams, so Thomas has a bit more consistency there. But um, I don't know. It is interesting, but I think Monahan Thomas is fine. Again, I think those two. It
yeah.
really depends on what you're looking for.
All right. Moving on to the next year. The next year is what we call the leapers. These are guys who could make a leap to any of the minus the McJesus tier, because if that happens, somebody's won the league with one of these guys. But and maybe not tier two, but like to the great ones, to the just outside, these guys could all make a leap, and they're all young enough, and there are very interesting things in their profile. So the first one here, we'll put Connor Bedard.
Yep. Let's
So
go. There's my boy.
again, he's not my first guy in this tier, but there are some things to talk about. I think he's one of the best pure shots in the league. If I'm talking about how quickly he can get it off, the tight quarters. If you watch him play, his shot is so deceptive. If there was a young guy that had a Matthews level shot, it's Bedard. The problem is the team around him is just dog shit. And
It's kind of weird with Dard too because he doesn't. It's weird for a guy with as good as a shot that he has. He doesn't shoot enough for me. For a guy with that kind of shot, like I'm not saying he has to hit 300 shots, like kind of like a Pasternak or like a Matthews does. But when you only hit 206 shots and 195 shots in your first 2 years, I am a little bit concerned because again, there's also not that much talent in Chicago, right? So theoretically,
yeah.
the way I see it is if you already have a lack of talent, you should be doing like usually when you have a lack of talent on your team, you're trying to do more than you should, right? So he should be at least shooting a bit more. So I'm a little bit concerned there. Plus, again, he hasn't even gotten above 25 goals in any of the years. So that is a little bit concerning for me there too. But I do have to again, it's not necessarily his fault when the talent around him is kind of crappy because there is just
and again,
no talent around him.
there are some concerns for sure. Like his rookie year was just way better than his sophomore year from a fantasy standpoint. Again, the shots fell down, the point totals fell down, the goals per game and assists per game all went down. I don't know how much of that. Like, I'm curious to see how much the coaching change I think his name is Muse. No, that was Philly. I forget who. No, sorry, that was Pittsburgh. I forget who the Blackhawks coach is right now, but I am curious how much the coaching change will make a difference. Again, part of this is a projection based on pedigree and like I don't want to say the eye test, but the film test to an extent. The only concerns I have with him here are, again, if you look at his projected supporting cast, man, they're still trying to figure out who the best defensive playmaker. It's one of those things where if you don't have a defined one, I don't think you have a single one. And right now they have that issue where we don't know who it is. He's projected to play with Donato and Burakovsky. Well, I think Donato is a decent playmaker. It's just not the level of supporting cast that a lot of these other guys have. And like a power play of Bertuzzi, Nazar, Donato, Rinzel, and Bedard, just how good's that going to be, really? So
I think
while I do have him here, I do
too
think he
is
could take a leap. It is a projection based on, again, it's more of a projection based on eye test and
it is pedigree too. It is. I want to say it's more pedigree than eye test because last year didn't look as great with the eye test. But like again, it is a heavy projection on pedigree. Also with Bedard, like if you're drafting him, you're basically just punting like face-off wins because I think his face-off percentage in the last 2 years has been 38.9 and 38.3%. So even if he takes a high volume of faceoffs, he's just not winning a ton, right? So, and if you're drafting that kind of a liability in terms of faceoffs, you can't try to do that strategy where you're trying to make up for it by drafting guys that like win a ton, right? You can't like unless you get like Crosby, Kopitar, or, something, or like Crosby, Heischer, maybe. But then at that point, you're sacrificing a ton of point apart from Crosby. That is like you are sacrificing some point upside, right? Because
He is the
with
one.
Bedard,
I am curious where people take him because people kind of like overshot his rookie year and then saw the rookie year and kind of overshot the second year. But because of the decline after the second year, I'm curious to see where he goes. Like, do people still kind of believe in the hype train, or is it something that you can maybe get him at a lower value than you thought potentially? So I'm curious to see where he goes. Second one here, Tim Stützle. Look, last 3 years, point per game, over a point per game, 0.93, 0.96. The points aren't a question. It's the everything else. He's never been a super high volume shooter, and I do think he's the type of guy who should shoot more. Last year was a little bit concerning because the shots fell below 2 per game, and he's never going to be a face-off guy. So while he does give you over hit per game, I am a little bit worried about where what his long-term or what he ends up being. If the shots go back, if the shots are around back to 2.5, he's over a point per game. Because of the over hit per game, you can live with the lack of faceoffs a little bit. But if the shots are down, if this is like a staple of Travis Green's system, because we noticed it with Brady Tkachuk too, where his numbers were down as well. So I'm kind of, if this is just going to be like a Travis Green thing, which is weird because if you remember Vancouver, they were fun and gun to the max. I am just kind of curious to see here. But again, the point production you can't really question. And again, talking about a bit of projection, you watch him play, he's a really good player. Like the playmaking and the goal scoring are there. Just I need more volume from him.
He's hit 90 points before, right? So like you know that there is that he is capable of getting to that point per.
But again, I would point out that was on a 17.1 shooting percentage, which again, I need him to shoot more if I'm okay with the regression in the shooting percentage, right?
Yeah, but even then, I think 17.1 is still a little bit high, but it's not as outrageous as some of the 20s, the 19s and 20s you see with some of the other guys, right? So I'm not saying he could hit 17 again, but like 15 seems reasonable. But he does need to shoot. Like he can't shoot below 2 shots a game like he did last year. That just can't happen. And I think with Stützle, there is a bit of risk that if you draft him, like he's not really a true center. Like he's not going to get you a ton of like face-off wins. And there is a chance that he does get left wing eligibility. Like they might just slide him over to left wing at some point. I know Tkachuk technically, I think Brady Tkachuk technically plays left wing, but sometimes they've slid him to left wing as well. So I'm curious to see what they do in that regard because they might. I feel like out of necessity, if they need face off wins, they might just slide Cousins up the lineup just because, I guess Cousins he does take a lot more face offs. So they might slide him up. So that again, that is also a real possibility. Also, weirdly, for a guy like Stützle's size, he actually he's only 6 feet 192, but he actually hits quite a bit, doesn't he?
We saw over hit per game. Yeah.
He's had over 100 hits every year kind of thing. And again, I guess the good thing about Stützle too is health, right? Like for the most part, he's at least played 75 games.
Again, I think I'd have him over Bedard right now at least, just because again, proven more, and the supporting cast is just better. Jake Sanderson's really good.
Jake Sanderson, Brady Tkachuk.
Drake Batherson. Yeah, it's a good supporting cast. For me, the leap comes if his face-off wins and shooting volume go up. And even if his face-off wins go up, if the shooting volume goes up, that's still a really good player. And I think that moves up a tier as well. Next one here, Dylan Strome. Can I say, shout out to Dylan Strome because if you remember, he was considered the bust after Eichel and after McDavid right? And Eichel. And now, look, he's not those two guys, but he's carved a pretty good post Chicago career. The last 3 years in Washington, and it's increased each year, 0.8, 0.82 point per game. Now, you could argue that the
point per game one has some concerns, right? Because again, you're shooting, you can't shoot, you're not shooting 19.5% again if you're
on 1.82 shots per game. Yes. No, that's for sure a concern. But even if the shooting goes down a little bit, even if the goals go down a little bit, I think he's line 1, power play 1. Again, the supporting cast is pretty good. I do think I do think I'm not gonna say maybe he's not a point per game guy, but like I think like going forward he could be
He's a
pretty
point
close.
eight. He's like a point
Yeah,
eight at the minimum. Like
he's
the
at
point
least
eight's the
consistently
worst
been
case.
point eight the last 3 years. The only issue is again, I think if his shots go up, there is the potential for a leap because again, the last 3 years in Washington, he's been 7.82 points 7.82 face off wins per game. 0.87 points per game, even taking into account the point per game year last year. It's just the shots are the issue, and if he can get that to even like 2.5, I think again there's potential there, right? Because I think if he shoots more, it mitigates the potential regression in shooting percentage. But it's just will he?
Yeah, I think even if his goals go down a little bit, like I think again when you're playing on a line with Ovechkin, like if you just feed him the puck, you're probably just going to get some assists anyway, so you'll get a decent chunk of points.
Yeah.
I think my concern with Strome is I think after next year or after this coming year, because if Ovechkin retires, that's when I'm kind of concerned with Strome, right? Because
Yeah, but we're not worrying about that right now.
But we're not worrying about that right now. So again, I think for this year he's fine. I would worry about him a little bit more like the next year after that. So just keep an eye on that.
But you kind of see the theme with these guys where it's like there's they're young guys. There's upside. Strome's a bit older. He's 27, but there's some again. It's either the play style, the supporting cast. Something's curbing them from taking that leap, but they do have the pedigree and the situation where they could, right? All right, next one here, Logan Cooley. He's probably, if we're talking about best situation of the guys we've described so far, there's one or two guys. There's one guy I think has a better situation potentially, but probably the best situation of the guys we've described so far. Last year, 0.87 points per game. Again, the shooting for like it's maybe just passing to Dylan Gunther too much, but 2.11 shots per game is like just again, it's not enough for me. And there's not a lot of face-off wins here either, but I think Utah is going to be one of the better offensive teams in the league next year. If you look at all the metrics plus how they've bolstered the team around them, I do think there is a possibility for this, like for him to be near point per game. But right now, I just have to have him here because, again, it hasn't been proven yet.
I think he's only 20. His only issue is if he shoots more. If he shoots more, he's fine actually. Like I think if he shoots a bit more, he actually could go. At least the way I'm looking at things, he could
to the just outside
tier. Yeah, just outside.
But there is upside here because if you look at last year's his year 20 year, and he went from everything increased from the year before, right? The shooting, yes, you could argue the shooting percentage increased, but like from 13.2 to 15.8 isn't like it's not something I'm like
it's not going to break his production, right?
Yeah.
And also, but like, again, his shots didn't increase by that much, but like again, at least there was a slight uptick there, which is good. Like even the face-off win, slight uptick.
But the key to notice from last year to this year, sorry to interrupt, is time on ice. His rookie year was 15 minutes 49 seconds. Time on ice last year was 17:52. If that time on ice increases, there's the potential, and that's the difference between him and some of these other guys. We haven't seen the time on ice increase, but he's projected to be the line, and he wasn't last year, and he wasn't the year before that, sorry. And last year, if you remember starting the year, he wasn't line one, power play one. Barrett Hayton was line one, if you remember. So there is the potential, if he's just going to stay on line one the entire year with Gunther and Keller, and like he's going to be playing around 20 minutes with those guys, the potential of the shots going up, the points going up, just everything going up it's there. It's all there. It's just, again, the reason we have him here is he could take that leap where if he's suddenly at 2.5 shots per game, over a point per game, even if the faceoffs aren't high, you could justify him putting him higher. It's just right now, based on, because we don't have that track record, we just have to have him here.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's maybe it's weird. There's like a couple guys we have in this tier, but like I think it's him, and then there's another guy we'll talk about probably that I'd definitely take a shot. Like it's him. It's like Cooley's for sure one of the guys. If I was in a redraft league, I would definitely take a stab. Like he's one of the few guys here I'd definitely take a stab on. I think he has the highest. I wouldn't say the highest. I kind of want to say highest upside given the team situation, like the improvements he's made to his play. Plus, like if his ice time is going, if he's going to get line one and he's going to get the like more power play time, more line one time, like I have to think the shots go up too and the point production goes up too, right? Like I can't see those things going down.
I think the issue is a lot of these other guys have already had the minutes. So like Strome last year was only 17 minutes, but I know Carberry likes to balance out their minutes a lot more. But like, let me just pull up Connor Bedard here for 1 second. Sorry, one moment here. If I remember correctly, Bedard and Stützle already had, like Bedard's playing 20 minutes a game, right? And if I remember correctly, Stützle wasn't 20, but he was pretty close. Stützle's 19 minutes 49 seconds, right? So
close enough.
And the year before he was 21, and the year before that he was 21. So it's like if you project Cooley out for 21 minutes, or let's flip the mill and say 20 minutes, which is normal for a first line center. First line center should be around, a guy with first line power play 1 should be around 20 minutes per game. If you project that out, there's definitely a possibility he ends up being the best guy on this tier. And again, all those totals go up because that's an extra 3 minutes per game almost, right?
Yeah.
All right, next one here, Wyatt Johnston. Okay, one thing, I'm going to be biased here, so you guys, I don't know how much salt you want to take this with, but if you're talking about who already... Okay, yes, he doesn't have... I'd argue he has the second most upside in this tier, so hear me out. 1, he's only played 18 minutes per game. Well, okay, no, third most upside, because the last guy we're going to talk about...
Yeah, I was gonna say second most upside is a little bit higher for you. I was like third.
Okay,
I was like third. Third's fair. Yeah.
He's moved around literally on every part. Like, if you follow the Stars last year, he was on the third line, the second line, the first line. Sometimes he was on the wing. Like, there was no consistency with where he was. This year, he is firmly entrenched on the second line right now. There is a potential. Honestly, I think to me personally, like, he just is more flashy than Hintz, but I get Hintz has the two-way game, so, whatever. But Wyatt Johnston, he's firmly on the second line. He's firmly on power play 1, whereas last year he didn't even start the season at times. Like, he was constantly on and off the power play. I think this year with all the departures on the team, he's entrenched. Line 2, power play 1. If you look at his numbers, they've increased each year. Last year's 0.87 points per game. Unlike all these other guys in this tier, at least so far, he shoots 2.63 shots per game the year before, 2.46 last year. The time on ice, I think, should go up a little bit, if it's at least to 19-ish minutes. And again, firmly entrenched position. He's going to be on a power play with a really good supporting cast. You're going to have Robertson. You're going to have Hintz. You're going to have Brantanen. You're going to have one of Harley or Heiskanen. That's just a really good situation. His line 2 right now, with Dallas right now, is projected to be Seguin and Duchesne.
Yeah.
Like, that's not nothing, That's not.
Also, I think I will point out about him again. I think he's the guy that has, his goal upside. I think like compared to some of the other guys in this tier is a little bit higher, right? Like he's proven
just because he shoots
goals.
more, yes.
Yeah, but he's proven he can get, but he's also proven he can hit 30 goals, right? Whereas again, as good as a shooter as Bedard is, he hasn't hit 30 goals. I think he's hit 39 one year, but then I don't think he's hit 30.
Wyatt Johnston's lowest so far has been 24. And that was his rookie.
And that was his rookie.
Playing 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, like Stützle's hit 39 that one year, but he hasn't hit 30 again since then. I don't think Cooley's hit 30 yet. I don't even think Strome has either. Or maybe if he has, let me double check on the Strome one. I know Strome didn't hit it last year, I don't think, or maybe he did. I could be wrong. So I may be speaking out of my ass. Yeah, he hit 29. So I think out of all these guys in the tier that we've talked about, I actually think the guy with the most goal upside is probably right now Johnston. In terms, or at least proven it so far.
I'd honestly have him, if I were to rank this tier, I'd probably have him near the top. I'd probably have Cooley ahead of him just because I think I value Cooley's upside more. But Johnston to me is just right now to me the better floor guy than the other 3. And then the last one, okay, this is my hot take. This is a guy I have at the top of this tier, Macklin Celebrini. This is my hot take. I think he's just insane. Let's talk about his rookie year, right? Because 0.9 points per game, 3.37 shots per game, 7.24 face-off wins per game. What?
There's not much. There's really just not
What?
much, not many things like we can bash this guy for, right? Like his rookie year coming into the league as an 18-year-old,
and not on a crazy shooting percentage. 10.6 is perfectly reasonable. There's no like outlier anything, and he's firmly line one. He's firmly power play one.
And his teammates are also going to get better too, right? Like Will Smith's going to put up more. Is going to probably like I don't know if he's going to be line one or line two, but if he is line one, he'll put up more points. If he's I guess center two, he'll still get points on the power play. I think guys like Eklund too. Like Eklund should also be getting better. Like the Sharks as a whole are going to get better, and I think if it's weird because like again we should be talking more from fantasy numbers rather than like play. But if you watch Celebrini play, like he just passes the eye test, right? Like he like plays hard, like he's skilled, he battles hard, like everything he does just kind of passes the eye test. And I know like we shouldn't be just looking at that, but like the eye test stuff does sort of translate in a way to the fantasy stuff.
But
right? Like
even the number test, sure, he's not point per game like some of the other guys, but 0.9 with better peripherals, give me that. And 0.9 in your rookie year with better peripherals than all of these other guys, give me that. And we'll figure it out. Because again, I know he's 19 minutes, 47 seconds average time on ice last year. Again, still less than Bedard played time on. Like if you bump that up to 20, and again, you talk about the teammates getting better. It's like if Eklund gets better and Smith gets better, now the power play is better. He already has Toffoli, who's like a very good veteran player to have alongside, who's a goal scorer. If any of those other guys improve, the upside's there. It's one of those things where I'm all in. Like
also,
I think
say,
of all these
this
guys,
is a key point to bring up too. If the Sharks power play quarterback in Klingberg is anything better than whatever the fuck they had
I
last
thought
year.
Wallman was decent last year.
Once
Wallman got traded, it was an
ass. Right? It was just ass. But like if Klingberg is any better than whatever the fuck they had at the end of the year, like Celebrini's points surely have to go up.
No, 100%. And like overall, I think again, you're talking about a guy who could potentially hit 30 goals next year, near a point per game, and the shots and faceoff wins, which are better than most of these other guys here. Like
it's already better than most of these guys, and it's his first year. Because a lot of times with centers in their first year, their faceoffs typically it takes time for their faceoffs to get better, right? Like if you even for a guy like I'll pull up Crosby as a prime example because Crosby's the one I think he's again the guy that I guess most people look at as like the pure like even Crosby is like okay, so Crosby in his rookie year, I guess for some reason Hockey Reference doesn't have it, but even Crosby by his third year, right? His face-off like percentage was like 51%. Like Celebrity's already at 48.2 in his rookie year. Mm-hmm. Like that has to go up as you get better.
For sure.
You trust him enough to take it, and it's going to get better. Like again, his points surely have to go up. Like if he's putting up 0.9 points per game in his rookie year of all years, like apart from let's say like a McDavid or like the really really like crazy like the tier guys we talked like the kind of like dry. I guess like McDavid's like the biggest example because he was point per game his rookie year. But like apart from McDavid, like you don't see many rookies come in and put up a ton of points. And like Celebrini's already hit that checkbox too. He shoots a ton. Like he checks off every single fucking box.
Here's my hypothetical question because like if Celebrini next year is like again, I'm just gonna project these are just very soft projections. But if he's let's say 25 goals goes to 30. We'll split them in. We'll say 28 goals, right? If he's 28 goals, point per game, with those shooting, like keeping the same shots on goal per game and face-off wins per game, that's easily in the next tier, right? Like there's no question.
Not even easily next year. I could even argue putting him in on like very bottom of grade ones.
Yeah.
Like, because the point,
because again, he'll have the deployment that Hischier, Tavares, and Hurdle will just never have.
Yeah, like he has better deployment than most of the guys, apart from I think the top like 3 guys we have in that, or top 4 guys we have in just outside.
It's just fascinating because like when I look at him, he's what I thought like Bedard would be coming in the league. So it's kind of interesting how like that turned.
It's funny because like he's been better than Bedard, but he's also been more well-rounded than Bedard too, right? Because Bedard was kind of like a pure offensive player coming. Like everyone's like was looking at Bedard's offense.
But Bedard was he was the next one. Like that was his hype, right? Celebrini wasn't that same level of hype. Like Bedard was the talk was him for a year. Celebrini, the only really thing I knew about him was that his dad was the trainer for the Warriors. So, like, the Warriors were kind of hyped on him kind of thing. But, like, it wasn't definitely the same level of hype. Here's a hot take. It wasn't the same level of hype as Lafreniere.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah, like he wasn't. Yeah. Everyone wasn't like thinking he was gonna.
So it's just kind of interesting how it like worked out or how it matriculated. But yeah, this tier I'd have like Celebrini at the top of this tier for me. It's no question. I don't know. You say?
No, he's by far at the top of this year. Like again, like he's almost outproduced like every like he's like apart from Stutzla, like he hit him in his rookie year. His point per game like was I think higher than pretty much every guy in this tier, right? Apart from Strome, this year, I mean, or this past year, because Strome had point per game.
Let me take a look. Well, he was higher. Hold on, let me check. Oh yeah, higher than Cooley. Definitely higher than John. Johnson was I think 0.87.
He might not be higher than Stutzla. I think that might be the only one I could be off on. Stutzla and Strome.
Stutzla and Strome. Yeah, Johnson was 0.87. Yeah. Johnson with Cooley, it just comes down to what you value. If you value the floor, you take Johnston. If you value the upside, you take Cooley. I think at this point, when you're talking about guys who could take a leap, I just take the upside and take Cooley.
Okay.
So the way like we funnel our drafts are generally you want the floor early and you want to shoot for the upside later. I think out like this tier and down is when you start looking at more upside guys and start, maybe. Instead of a guy who's just a lot safer, I want a guy who can return a lot more value. So I'd put Cooley here, then Johnston. And then I think the rest are tiered. Like, I think, the Stutzla, Strome, Bedard. You could pick Bedard over Strome if you're just going on pedigree. But, whatever. Like, that's fine. All right. Next tier, the pendulum swing. So these are two guys who I think can make or break depending on when you take them and how they do. There's Elias Pettersson and Matt Barzal. Okay, let's talk about Pettersson. There's not much. I don't want to say there's not much to talk about. It's not much to talk about that we haven't talked about individually between all the podcasts we've done and everything. Look, if you get the Pettersson from 2022-23 and 2023-24, that is at where he's going. That is going to be a league winner. You're talking about a guy that's over a point per game. At worst, 2.5 shots per game. Face-off wins are a bit light, but that's fine. He's close to a hit per game as well. You'll take that. However, last year, if you get the guy that's 0.7 points per game, 1.7 shots on goal per game, I mean, that's not even honestly like those numbers are barely 3C on a competitive roster. Yeah, like it just really depends. And this year there's no excuses, right? They traded JT Miller. He says he's put on muscle coming back. We'll see what it looks like. I am curious to see what it looks like with Adam Foote as their coach, just because, again, I don't know what his coaching style is like because we don't have a sample size of it, but him being a defenseman as a player is going to be kind of interesting to see what happens. But, I mean, the supporting cast is there. He has an all-world defenseman in Quinn Hughes. He has decent wing talent. It just comes down to which one you're getting. And unlike years before where you had to take him early, you can take him low enough that the value return can be substantial. It's just which guy are you getting?
Yeah, depending on which guy you get, either kind of, I don't want to say it might kind of make or break your season to a certain extent, right? Because like he could theoretically win you the league, but he could also like, he might not sink you, but it's going to be like a bit of a sinkhole in your lineup, right?
He's also a game of chicken, right? Like, because no one's going to want to take him too early, but somebody's going to feel like a certain round will just be, it's like, it's going to be too, and like, I'm curious to see how that game of chicken plays out. Like, who's going to take him where is going to be a real question that I'm curious to see how that plays out. But he's a pendulum swing, right? If you take him too early and he's what he was last year, I mean, you just, I hate to say it, like it's going to hurt you for the entire season. If you get him at the right value and he's a first line, if he's a 1C, you're probably going to be, again, if you don't blow up the rest of your draft, you'll probably be one of the better teams in your league. No,
yeah, assuming you don't fuck up the rest of your draft, you'll be pretty good. Yeah.
I think, the other one's Matt Barzal. Look, here's the reality. He's a point per game. Can he stay healthy? That's it. And like, there's nobody. Here's the thing. There's nobody contesting him.
Yeah.
So like, he gets all the deployment and all the playtime he wants, right? And no matter what, he is like for the most part for his career, he's been 0.87 points per game. Last year, 30 games was a little bit low. The shots were a little bit lower from the year before. Went down to 0.67. Again, like I feel like a healthy year. Again, a healthy year coming back. I think I'm not too concerned about that. It comes down to like how healthy is this guy because he hasn't played 82 games since 2018, 2019. He played 2 years ago, but overall, like you're looking at like 73, 58, 30 last year. It just comes down to health, really.
Also with Barzell, he's historically never been a really like he's never been a good shooter. But like man, if his shooting percentage just gets over like 10%, like that's probably good enough. Like for example, the year he got 80 points in 80 games, he didn't even shoot above 10%. Like that's the one year where his shots were kind of an outlier because he had 3 shots per game.
But that's why shooting a lot matters, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you shoot enough, you can mitigate that.
If you shoot enough, if you shoot enough with even like a shitty percentage like he is, like 9.6 is not very good, right? But again, he got to like essentially point per game with with a team that wasn't that good offensively, right? And I think this year it's going to be even more paramount, right? Because if you look at that Islanders lineup, like oh my god, like there is like it's essentially Horvat and it's Horvat Barzell as really their main offensive pieces. Like I guess you could throw
it's a
Duran in there.
pendulum swing too from a standpoint of what's a weird stat with Barzell? His rookie year was the year he scored the most points in the league, and he hasn't eclipsed that since, right? Which is kind of interesting. But it's also one of the only years he played 82 games. But but it's just interesting. He hasn't scored over 85 points, which was his rookie year. The issue just comes down to with him his health and supporting cast, but he can go late enough where I think you can get him. And if he's healthy and he's near point per game on, over 2.5 shots on goal per game, like that plays. And that kind of return on value could win you your league. However, if he was as injured and ineffective as he was last year, it's just you burn that. You might as well throw that pick in the fire.
Also, here's my advice: if you're drafting him, you're basically punting face-off wins. Like he is not a good. He's never been a good face-off guy to begin with, so you're basically punting that too. So do draft carefully with Barzell, because at least with Pettersson, it's okay enough that you can kind of mitigate the face-off part. With Barzell, you're essentially giving up on it altogether.
Yeah, exactly. And why I have these guys on these tiers is like. Honestly, I Pettersson's just weird because I don't know where he's gonna go. Like, and I couldn't have him. I mean, you could argue he'd be a leaper, but like, again, we've already seen what his ceiling is really good. It's just like,
well, leaper. I feel like people are more, leaper is more for the guys with potential. Like you've seen it in them, and you think that they have the potential, right? Like Pettersson, like he's hit his. Like
I have so much more less apprehension picking Cooley, Celebrini, Johnston, Stutzla than I do Pettersson. There's just so much more apprehension with Pettersson than with those other guys.
Right.
Hell, I'd argue there's more apprehension picking Pettersson than there is picking Bedard, which is a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, especially when one guy's hit 100 points and the other guy's not even hit above 70, right? So, like, that's just to highlight that. Like how.
But these are my guys who I think if you take them, and at where they're going right now, they could make or break your draft. And again, it's either they swing one way and they provide insane surplus value, or they swing the other way and they bust. Which
I will say, word of advice: I probably wouldn't draft both of them together.
Yes.
That is one thing. Like, unless you're really hoping, because the only way you get out of this like great is if they both hit. And I'm going to assume, just based on odds, one of them will probably hit. Or one of them will probably find it, and the other one won't. Mm-hmm. Like it's probably safe to assume at least one of them. Like I don't think both of them bust or both of them break. Like have a crazy year.
Yeah.
But I have to assume one of them like kind of rebounds to the norm, and the other one just kind of is meh.
I will say the league-wide implications if Pettersson's the bust will be crazy, more so than Barzell. It's like Barzell like bust. No, I don't want to be mean, but like New York's rebuilt. The Isles are no one cares. But like. If Pettersson busts, that's the ramifications.
It's worse since especially if you because you traded JT Miller, right? You traded the other good center you had.
Well, not only that, like the ramifications on like Quinn Hughes' upcoming free agency potentially, trading for Cheadle, like what do you do? Just re-signing, like there's just a lot more implications. Whereas like if say Barzal's not back to his near point per game, it's like, okay, well the Isles are rebuilding. You just eat the contract for a couple of years.
Well, not only that, but
All right.
at least you have Horvat, right? Who's your other center, who's like at least good enough
Yeah,
to be a center one.
exactly.
So like, it's not the end of the world there.
All right. Speaking of Horvat, the floor guys. Well, Horvat, first one we can put here. Look, these guys aren't the guys. They're not sexy, but they're solid. Like they're again, you know what you're getting. There's not a ton of upside with these guys, but these guys fill a role on your team. They're good number 2, maybe overqualified 3C, and they just do their job and they do it well.
Do you want to
Horvat,
just fire off all the names first? I could just put them all on here, and then
we'll just do them individually, just to make it easier on you timing wise, maybe. So Bo Horvat, look, is he going to score a ton of points? No, 0.73 points per game his entire duration with the Isles. But what does he give you? The last 3 years with the Isles, 3.01 shots on goal per game, 9.71 face-off wins per game. So you're getting, again, around 0.7 points per game with really good peripherals. That's a really good third center. And here's the weird thing. With his deployment, again, the Isles are so bad, there's no one really contesting. So it's like,
I think the concern with Horvat is like there is a little bit of concerns with his point production because like it did fall like significantly last year. Like he only had 57 points in 81 games. Like he didn't even get to 60. That has me a little bit concerned. But like again, with the shots on, like he shoots a ton, right? So I don't have concerns with the shooting. He'll get the ice time. He wins a crap ton of face-offs. Like for the most part, you are gonna assume he probably gets to 0.8 points per game. Plus, I assume if he's
0.7, it's not great, but all the other peripherals are
well, I also think too, if you have a healthy Barzal, I have to think your production goes back up a bit too, right? Like
for sure.
When you only have Barzal for 30 games, that is and also a Barzal for 30 games that didn't look quite himself, right? Like if you have healthy Barzal and he's at least back to what his career norms are, I have to assume Horvat's production goes up too, right? So
yeah. Next one here, Anze Kopitar. I have him ahead of Horvat. It's interesting. His point production's better, and the face-off wins but the shots have just been on a steady decline the last couple of years. So, again, 2021-22, 2.59, then 2.06, 1.64, 1.21. He's also a lot older than Horvat, but he's on a better team, better supporting cast. There's no one really, like, I doubt Byfield doesn't feel like he's pushing him for line 1 right now yet. Overall, just solid. I think he's a solid 3C. He'll give you face-off wins. He'll give you decent points.
The shots on goal does really concern me though. Like if he doesn't even get past 100 shots and he almost played the full season, right? Like that is really, really concerning.
That's the other thing too with him. Remarkably durable. He's played 81 games or more the last 4 years.
And that was his year 37 year. Age 37 year, just to highlight that, especially.
Just a safe floor. Next one here, Rope Hintz. So Rope Hintz is interesting. Now, I wouldn't have called him a floor guy a couple of years ago, because if you look at his age 24 year, point per game, 2.24 shots on goal per game, around 5 faceoffs and a hit per game, that would be a lot higher. But the last 2 years, he's kind of went from a point per game guy to around 0.8. So 2 years ago was 0.81. Last year was 0.88. The shots on goal are in that 2.1, 2.2 range. Last year was at least his career high in faceoffs with 6, but usually he's closer to around 4 or 5. And the hits have gone down too. Again, he's just a safe floor. Like he'll give you point production. He'll slightly give you like a decent amount of shots. Not gonna give you a ton of faceoffs, but he gives you something. He's just a guy who gives you something in like every category. He doesn't give you.
I guess my question is, would you have him above Kopitar? I kind of would lean a bit more. Like again, I feel like I guess more coverage.
I think he's in a better situation, so I would. But if you like,
because Kopitar's shots on goal has me concerned. Kopitar's shots on goal has me concerned for sure. Like 98 is like scary.
The only thing I'd be concerned about is like, now I do think Rantanen, Hintz, Robertson are going to stay together, but the Wyatt Johnson thing, I don't know. To me, this is my hot take as Stars fan. Hintz is the better two-way guy, but I feel like Johnston's just the more dynamic offensive talent, and I'm kind of curious to see how Gulutzin configures or comes to the reality of that. But I don't know. Rantanen and Hintz have chemistry, and the way Hintz plays, where he breaks into the zone with speed, works with Rantanen because basically he played that way with McKinnon, so it's not as much of a transition. But also, I think it's just a better supporting situation. He's going to be power play one. One, he's playing with Rantanen and Robertson for year two. He's on a power play with Rantanen, Robertson, Johnston, and Harley potentially, right? So it's a really good team situation. But I think overall he's just a safe floor guy. He's going to give you a bit in every category, but he's not going to give you, not going to give you a ton in everything. So not much to say there. The guy I actually like better than most here, Joel Eriksson-Ek. Look, is he as offensively talented as some of the guys in this other tier? No. But if you look at his numbers overall, he's really well-rounded. He's around over 8 face-off wins a game. He's over a hit per game.
I think he's almost over. I think 2 years ago he's over 2 hits.
He's over 3 shots on goal per game the last 3 years. The points are a little bit the health and like maybe the point totals are a little bit of concern, but he's going to be line one, power play one. The whole Marco Rossi situation had me a little bit concerned last year, but now it just seems like he's almost on his way out. So I'm not as concerned with it. And at the end of the day, I think the point totals can be partly explained with the injury and Kaprizov missing so much of the year. With a healthy Kaprizov and a healthy Zuccarello, and if he's just going to be line one the entire year,
he's usually a lock for he's usually a lock for 0.8 points per game. Typically, he's close to around that range, right? And he gives you so much coverage across everything.
Career's been 0.55. I'd say he's at least 0.7 at worst. But here's the thing: if I say 0.7 with over 3 shots on goal per game, over 9 faceoff wins, and close to over a hit per game, that's better than everybody in this tier. I'll take the drop off in points slightly for everything else.
So would you have him right above Kopitar I don't know why it didn't shift, but would you have him right
I'd have him there. I think so. Okay. I just think if you're looking for a floor guy, the coverage is just so good that even if he's not 0.8 points, if he's 0.7, I'll take that over, some of these other guys. And again, the shot totals like the last 3 years and the face-off wins and the hits are just better than everybody here, pretty much. And the other thing, too, is there's upside, right? Again, we talked about Zeev Buium finally having a competent power play quarterback, potentially. And just having a full year of Kaprizov and Zuccarello would be massive, I think. And then the last guy on this tier we have is, Nazem Kadri. I know it's weird because the Flames are probably one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive team in the league. But if you look at his numbers, look at the team aside, there's no one really pushing him for line one. There's no one really pushing him for power play one. But overall last year, his 0.82 points per game, over 3 shots on goal per game, over 8 face-off wins, it's really good. The only concern with Kadri is
if he gets traded, right?
But you can't worry about that now.
Yeah. If he doesn't get traded, it does significantly hurt his value because wherever he goes, he's probably not going to be center one. And there might be the very small chance he's not even on PP1, but that's a really small chance. He'll still be PP1.
Overall,
probably.
He's really good. I'd have him probably close to Eriksson-Ek, if not above, depending on what you value. Actually, if you value, no, I probably have. Yeah, I think that's fine.
I think that's fine too because there's risk there's at least with Eric. I guess there's risk with both guys. Lack of supporting cast and then injuries for Eriksson.
But I mean, the other thing too is first year with Calgary wasn't that great, but the 2 years before, 0.91, and then last year 0.82. That's really good. Again, the shots have been consistent. The face-off wins have been pretty consistent. I think he's just a really good as your third center. Really good. It's just, again, you worry about if he gets traded, but you can't worry about that going into a draft. Kind of have to worry about that, midway through the year kind of thing. All right. Next tier here, upside but chilled. These are guys who have upside for different reasons, but to me, it's not the same as the leapers where there's reasons why it's curbed a bit.
Yeah. So when we say but chilled, it means there's something that we have, or there's issues with them, whether it's they don't shoot enough, if they don't win
deployment, track,
or lack of multi-category coverage. Those could be those are some of the reasons we might have them in this tier, essentially.
Yeah. So first one, Mason McTavish. Look, he's one of those guys I like a lot as a player when I watch him, But at the end of the day, like there's this whole weird thing where I think he should be on line 1, but they have Leo Carlson there. And last year they had Leo Carlson there. Last year they had him on line 3, McTavish on line 3, which is criminal. Again, he's never hit over 0.7 points per game. The peripherals are decent. He's over 2.3 shots. He's around 6 faceoff wins. Like that's all. He's close to a hit per game. Like that's all fine. But his deployment, the overall offense of the Ducks, still not having been figured out yet. These are all, and then again, the potential like maybe he gets traded. These are all concerns to me.
Well,
So I have him
not
here.
even just the traded thing too. Like he still doesn't have a contract with the Ducks, right? So it's like again, there's like maybe the chance that if he holds out long enough, like if you draft him, like he misses a couple games at the minimum, right? And that's something you have to keep in mind. It's a little bit annoying, right? But it's a real possibility, right? I think if you remember, like I don't know if you remember a few years ago when Nylander held out to like the very last day before he could sign, like the very last day that he could sign, essentially, which I think was like December 1st. Like I don't think that happens, but like you never know with guys that are unsigned, right?
And
Like,
Pat
what can
Verbeek is a
happen.
hard ass with signing young guys too. So, yeah.
But I do like McTavish is one of those better in real life players than fantasy
Yeah,
players.
100%.
He looks so
100%.
good, like again, so like so big, so strong. Like he shoots a decent amount. He does
He's
everything
the guy,
right.
like, I like his upside the most, and I don't understand. Look, I know people like Leo Carlson's like the projection of his two-way game, but McTavish is a better player right now, and he's young enough.
Also,
that, like,
here's the thing: McTavish was also drafted in the top 3, so it's not you can't even make the argument that like, oh, Carlson has more pedigree. Like, sure, Carlson was drafted one slot higher. Like, boo-hoo.
yeah, no, I completely agree. I think McTavish is the better player, and I hope my upside but chilled is just like right now the situation is just so. It's so weird with the Ducks in terms of both his contract, his deployment. There's a lot of things to figure out, and that's the chilled part. But the upside is if like they realize he's their best center and he should be on line 1, power play 1. Now we have something. Because if
here's the other thing too, like the Ducks do this weird shit where they have Carlson on line 1, but they don't even have him on PP1. Like I don't know, it just feels
they had that last year too. Yeah.
Ugh. It pisses me off. I had McTavish at one point because he did get on PP1 at a certain point. And he was really good when I had him. Like he was 3 shots a game. Remember there's a stretch.
Like if you increase his ice time and give him good deployment, he's easily like a 0.75, potentially 0.8 for me. But it's just right now that lack of certainty has it chilled for me here. Next one, Yuri Kulich. It's just look at the end of the day, this is a projection. He was only 0.39 points per game, but he's line 1 with Tage Thompson and Zach Benson. He's power play 1. I think Buffalo is going to surprise some people this year. I know it's probably a cliche people have heard a bunch of times, but the potential is there. We have a lack of track record. We don't have really anything
he's
to
what,
go
60,
off.
like 64, 60 something. He basically only has 60 something
He's
games.
played less than 65 games in his career.
So like there's the lack of experience is there. Plus, like again, I think with Kulich, like if he doesn't perform well, there is a chance that like I guess you could see Josh Norris like just leap up and take him. The problem is with Norris though is like he's always hurt. So
but like
at a certain point, like
he's healthy, he's just better, right?
Yeah. At least he's showing it a bit
next
more.
one. Yeah. Next one here, kind of similar, but not line 1, Frank Nazar. Again, guy I love watching play. Frank Nazar is a dog, and I mean that with the WG. And if you look at his numbers last year, so there's a couple things. One, only 15 minutes time on ice, but if he's going to be line 2, power play 1, that's going to shoot up. We just don't have a track record, right? Again, we talked about it. Less than 65 games. We just don't know. And there's the curb part that he's probably never going to be number 1 center on this team while Bedard's there.
Also, the lack of shots too, like at least from what we see from the small sample size.
The only thing is he's so like it was only 53 games, right? That's the only thing.
I know, but again, that's still something you have to watch out for, right? Like you just have to keep that in mind. Exactly. Like again, maybe if he does get more power play time, like then he probably does shoot a bit more, right? Because when your power play time goes from like let's say like the last 20 seconds of a power play to like the first like minute 15, like that has to help in some degree, right? But it's just something to keep in mind. You do have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, his lack of upside, and also Chicago is weird. Like the lack of.
Well, Chicago also paid him too, right? So the fact that they paid him this much, like that much money, like I think his contract was he making like six something mil or something like that, like per year. Like if you're gonna pay him that much, like I have to assume Chicago trusts him, or like they're willing to like give him the time, right? If you're gonna pay him that much after only 53 games with that kind of production.
Sure. But again, what chills him here for me is just he's not going to ever have line one. Unlike Kulich, he doesn't have that opportunity. And again, it's the lack. It's unlike Kulich, the talent around Chicago is just a lot lesser. Next one here, Quentin Byfeld. Like he's going to be power play one, but he's firmly on line two, and a lot of this is still projection with him because there is upside physically, but we haven't just seen it fully manifest itself yet. And he is on a team that isn't really high danger offensive team.
They're a very defensive team, right? Like the Kings have historically just been a defensive team like the last couple of years. So I don't know how much that hurts Byfield's offensive production. I do see maybe like there is a small realm he could take line. I could maybe see him taking line one because Kopitar has like his play has declined over the past few years, and he just doesn't shoot. Like Kopitar just barely shot.
The problem is Kopitar's so good defensively that for a team like LA, I can't ever imagine them. Like Kopitar, the fall off would have to be so immense. But yeah, right now his upside's curbed by the LA's overall structure plus not being line one. That's doesn't seem to be in the near future either. Another guy who's not going to probably get line one, Will Smith, Mr. Getting Jiggy with it himself. Look, again, really good player. You watch him play, similar to McTavish. It's just he's firmly on line two. He's not going to supplant Sabrini on line one. So there is, again, the curbed upside there in terms of time on ice, but he'll be on power play one. The Sharks are an up-and-coming team. There's potential there. It's just you're not going to have the same potential as someone, again, who has line one minutes all to themselves and line one talent all to themselves 5-on-5. And again, he's a guy that's played less than 82 games his entire career. He hasn't shown a ton of shooting yet, so that's another concern as well. Again, and all these guys can have that similar concern where there hasn't been, outside of McTavish, there hasn't been a lot of like sample size in terms of what their shooting ability is, like what their overall production with their time on ice is going to be as well.
Also, right? I feel like if Smith wants to leap further up, like if he wants to like have a higher point potential or like just shoot a bit more, the reality is he might have to play on the first line wing for that to happen, like play alongside Celebrini. But then at that point, like he's not really a center, right? So that's because he did play alongside Celebrini for like decent chunks of last year. But I do think the Sharks, I mean, they drafted him as a center, right? So they do want, if they can figure out like the second center behind Celebrini, that would really help. Because I think at points last year they had Alex Wenberg, who, again, don't know if I want him as my center too.
Mm-hmm. The next one here, Dylan Cousins. He's never going to be the line one guy on Ottawa, but last year numbers in Ottawa, granted, shooting percentage was a little bit higher than normal, but overall 2.33 shots per game, 0.76 points per game, over 6 faceoffs per game, 2.71 hits per game. If he stays healthy, that plays as a third center on a team. Or a fourth center, like that's fine. As long as he keeps power play one.
He hits a ton. Like he is like I love his
he's
I love
a
the
good
hit output,
utility guy. Like as a fourth center on a team or like a really underqualified third, depending, like he's fine. Like there's no problem here.
His problem is his point production, right? Because everyone saw that year where he had 68 points in 81 games for Buffalo, and we all thought like he would take that, like either take that next step or at least maintain it. But like ever since then, like he just hasn't put up the same like kind of level of points. But then the problem is he's kind of that weird, like he kind of reminds me of Eric Sinek in that sense where he does everything, like not everything else, but like he covers a decent chunk of cats, but then the lack of points just like it really pisses me off. Although I guess in the Eric Sinek's case it's worse because he gets actual like line one deployment, so it's a little bit worse in his case. But like with Cousins, like it's just everything but the points.
But if you're drafting him as like a fourth center, like
you don't need the points, but it's just it's one of those where like man, you wish it'd just be nice to have.
Yeah. And then last one, Josh Norris. This just comes down to, well, one, he doesn't have a line one right now, but two, like if this guy can just
ever stay healthy? Yeah. I don't know. This guy always hurts his shoulder. I swear to God, like his shoulder's like
only year he's ever played over 60 games, he was 0.83 points per game. 2.6 shots on goal per game, 8.02 faceoff wins, and 1.2 hits, right? He's not been healthy since. And it's like, if this guy can stay healthy, if he's just line two, power play one, and he gets a full year under him, I will take that. Because, like, everything else is fine. Like, again, as a fourth center, it's fine. It's just like, can this guy stay healthy? And there is an outside chance that if Kulich doesn't perform and Norris stays healthy, he could take line one. And if he does that, he's even more valuable. But right now, I have to chill
that's
him
the
because
problem. Like he's never played 82 games in a year. So the problem is we
Yeah.
know he's just going to get hurt.
That's the chill
point.
part.
He'll never stay healthy. Yeah. Ugh.
All right. Next tier here is if they get power play 1 or better deployment. All these guys to me have really strong potential. It's curbed substantially by the fact they don't have power play 1, but if they do, they vault. So first one's Vincent Trocheck. Vincent Trocheck right now is not projected to have power play 1, but man, like his numbers overall are just so good. Like he's kind of in like that Eriksson of like he does like so his past couple years with New York, 2.61 shots per game, 2.32 hits per game, 10 faceoff wins, 0.81 points per game. Honestly, like he could be a floor guy. Like
yeah, like even last year when his points like went down significantly, like he still almost hit 60 points. Like he's still
is he a floor guy?
It's weird though. I think because he doesn't have the deployment though, right? That's what really concerns. Like if he doesn't have the deployment, like his production might go down further, and then that I think at that point that takes him out of
even
the floor
without the deployment, is his floor such that like it doesn't matter almost in a way?
I think
my issue everything else.
My issue with putting him in the floor guys is all the floor guys at least have PP1 like deployment.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We can leave him here.
He's close.
But if he gets power play 1,
if he gets it, he goes there.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
He goes to like here, maybe even here roughly if he gets it. But
it's just weird because he does play line 1. So he's projected to play line 1 with Lafreniere and.
But he is not going to get PP1 time. I know it's weird. Like I hate when teams do that.
But he's the guy I'm like the highest on right now, just because I think again, if I'm talking about redraft, not dynasty or keeper, like there's so much value in what he does. Where he's just a very well-rounded player. Again, he'll give you a ton of faceoffs. He'll give you hits. He'll give you shots. He'll give you in New York the last couple of years 0.81. Although the 0.94 kind of seems like an outlier. I think he's closer to a 0.75 guy. And if he does get power play 1, those numbers go up. Next one here, Anthony Cirelli. So interesting thing with Cirelli is when point went down last year, he did have power play 1, and his numbers were really good. When he had to take on line 1 power play 1 duties from from point. But overall, and that's why you notice the shots went up as well a little bit. Overall, though, the lack of shots do concern me a little bit, and the lack of production. The reason he spiked up to 0.74 was because he had that time in while Point was hurt. Normally, he's kind of outside of that. His career overall, he's been a 0.57 guy. But again, if he ends up getting power play 1 for whatever reason, I'd be fine with him here because he does.
Yeah, the problem with Cirelli though is like if he doesn't have power play 1, the only thing he really gives you is like face-off wins. Like, and then maybe the point because his point totals have been kind of like fluctuated like weirdly. Like 3 years ago,
he's probably the guy I'm lowest on this tier where I think you could leave him on waivers and just wait and see. But if he gets it,
his point production is so low and like he only gives you face-off wins. That's kind of my concern with him. Like he doesn't really cover.
For sure.
He's not like Trocheck where like at least Trocheck's draftable because like he gives you so much like other coverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, next one here, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Look, his first year in Washington was really good. 0.8 points per game. Shots were lower than I'd like because Columbus he was over 2. Last year he was 1.73. Face-off wins over 7 last year with Washington. I'm just curious to see where it goes. If the shots are still down, it's a little bit of a concern. But if he was on power play 1 in pieces last year with the Capitals, and if he gets power play 1, he's probably on the upside but chilled. But overall, yeah, I think he's here. Were there any other comments you had or not really?
Not really. Although, again, like I said, one of the weirdest 1-for-1 trades that actually just worked out for both teams.
For both teams, yeah.
I know, right? It was so weird because like both of those guys had terrible years before they got traded, and then I guess it worked out individually for both teams. One got a better goalie, one got a better center. Worked for both of them, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Marco Rossi is the next one here. So this one's kind of interesting. While Eriksson was out, he was pretty good as a line one power play one guy. The lack of shots is always going to be a concern. The lack of face-off so far is also a concern as well. And if he's going to be on line two, power play two, he's almost undraftable at this point. But again, if he gets that deployment, there is potential of having him as a fourth center.
Yeah, like again, I think my issue with him is just lack. I don't want to say lack of category coverage, but he doesn't do anything particularly well, and he doesn't give you good. He doesn't at least even give you good coverage. Like he doesn't at least give you a ton of hits, ton of shots. Again,
His
like
value
I
is
said,
as a playmaker, but if he's line two, power play two, what does that matter to you?
the playmate. Also, your playmate. If you're a playmaker, I mean, you're playing on power play two. You're playing with worse guys, right? So again.
Yeah.
Worse shooters.
No, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter for fantasy perspective. So I have him. Yeah, I have him here. But
Just leave him
honestly,
off
like I'll say this with Sorelli and Rossi, if they're not on power play one, like you can have these guys on your watch list. But I wouldn't even draft the other two. I wouldn't mind drafting. Sorelli and Rossi is just undraftable without power play deployment.
Yep.
All right, next one here, Adam Fantilli. This is kind of an upside pick, right? Like I do like him more than Rossi because he shoots more. Last year, face-off wins jumped up to 7.29. Now, part of the point totals could be ascribed to him replacing Monahan as line one for a sizable portion of the year. I think 38 games. But again, he is 20. There is a prospect pedigree. There is the upside. But right now, he's not penciled in to either line one or power play one. If he gets power play one, he's immediately draftable. Right now, again, he's kind of on the watch list for me. Or if you just want to take a late round stab at a guy that you think has real upside, he's probably a guy I would do that for. But otherwise, like I think you just leave him undrafted for now.
Also, weirdly for such a high pick, he hits quite a bit, doesn't he? Like he again more than 100 hits last year.
Over
like if he gets
game, 1.3.
Yeah, like he hits a bit. Like again, I think if he just gets on power play one, like he's like, he could be a heck of I would say a heck of a steal for anybody who gets him like this far down. It's just again they have Jenner, Monahan, Johnson, Marchenko, and Werenski on PB1, right? And it's hard to kind of replace anybody. Like the only one I could argue is like, maybe Jenner, like maybe, but I think Columbus really likes
the
him.
Spot last year was because Monahan got hurt, right?
Yeah. But when he did get hurt,
a lot of these guys, I'm really like I said, I think PLD, Trocheck, and the next guy I'm going to talk about, you can draft just on their own. The other guys, I wouldn't bother. So the next one's Sam Bennett. Look, he doesn't have the deployment, and he's not going to ever really have the he's definitely not going to have that insane point production, but the coverage on everything else is good. And if he ever does get plus deployment,
watch out.
I mean, he's his career in Florida, over 3 shots on goal per game, over 5 faceoffs, over 2 hits. Now last year it did decline a bit, but still 1.91 hits per game, still pretty good. The only 2 issues with Bennett are health and deployment. But if he ever gets power play one, you're and he's a guy you can draft regardless because the coverage in every other category is so good. And I think you're seeing a theme here with these guys where if it's either they have the coverage, but if they don't have the deployment, if they have the coverage but don't have the deployment, you can draft them. If they don't have the deployment and don't have the coverage, you're just better leaving them aside.
Also, the one thing I will say, just on a random note, it sucks because if you're going to draft Sam Bennett, you're not getting playoff Sam Bennett. If you look at regular season Sam Bennett versus playoff Sam Bennett, there's
jeez.
That is again high shooting percentage, so it's a little bit debatable. But there's a night and day difference between playoff Sam Bennett and regular season Sam.
You know what's crazy in the playoffs? 4.16 hits per game is crazy.
Yeah, I think that's my point. Again, playoff Sam Bennett is a fucking different beast. That could win you. That would win you a fantasy. That kind of pick could win you a fantasy league. Regular season Sam Bennett is still good enough, but again, not a winning pick.
So
right?
I'd probably at least if we're slotting them now, I'd probably go Trocheck, Bennett, Dubois, Fantilli, and then Sorelli. Yeah, that. I think that's fine. And then the last guy we have on this tier is RNH, who I'd probably have above Dubois but below Bennett. So people will look at RNH's numbers and say, well, why do you have him this low? So, and he is on power play 1, yes, but it's the better deployment argument. He goes from being on the wing on line 1 to being the center of line 3. So while he does have power play 1 deployment, now he's away from outside of the power play. He's playing with lesser players. The time on ice will be reduced, and now he has to be the catalyst of his own line versus receiving feeds from two of the greatest players in the world. I do forecast a decline in his point totals, but if they ever do move him back to the wing, he surges up. It's just right now.
Even his production last year though dipped substantially, right? Like he didn't even hit 50 points last year. So it's like
0.63 points.
Not even projecting the dip. It's already kind of dipped. That's the issue. But
again, I think the being on power play 1, there is enough, because if you look at his numbers last year, he had 49 points. If I look at it correctly, 20 of them were on the power play, so almost like close to half, like 40% of ish were on the power play. So him being on power play 1 still provides a decent floor, but now him being on a line 3 with like that 18 minutes and 58 seconds of average at time on ice is probably going to drop a bit. So again, if he moves back to line 1, I'd have him a bit higher. Just right now, I think we have to kind of chill. Again, and part of this is looking at what it's projecting going forward versus what it was, right? So we have to take that into account, and I have him here. But I do have him ahead of the other guys because while he doesn't have the coverage that a Bennett and Trocheck do, he does have power play 1, unlike all the other guys.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of a power play 1 to have. Tier 10, at least they're young. I probably should have picked a different name for that. That sounds weird. But,
yeah, that sounds very. I had to laugh there because when you said that, I was like, "Oh God!" Like that could have been taken in the totally wrong context.
So, the issue with these guys is I haven't seen a ton of upside yet. Part of it could be due to track record. Part of it could be due to situation. It's just like,
or both.
At least the argument is they're young prospects. Yeah, like Matty Beniers is the first one. It's kind of weird. His point totals have declined. Well, granted, his second year he shot 16.2%, so that's gone down to but his numbers just haven't been very good. He's less than the last 2 years. He's been
barely above 0.5 points per game.
Yeah, he's basically been 0.5 points per game. He hasn't ever been over 2 shots on goal per game in his career. He's never been above 7 faceoffs. He's not a hitter, so it's like, you're hoping there's some upside going into his age 23 year, but and he's also not on a very good offensive team. So it's like, well, what are we, we're just hoping the prospect pedigree wins out at this point, basically.
And even his prospect pedigree, I remember what I read in his draft year was he was always more of a not a two-way guy, but he wasn't a very high offensive caliber player, right? It was more like the hockey sense, his IQ, that kind of stuff. And whenever I read those kind of players, I never think of them as, first of all, as high picks. Second off, I never see those guys ever getting to that high offensive production. So I'm not super high on Beniers as a whole, especially on the team he's on right now. At least he was in Buffalo. I'd be okay, maybe I could see it happening, but in Seattle, hell no.
Yeah. Next one here, Casey Middlestat.
Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm out on this guy. I'm just completely out on this guy. Look,
the eye test is this guy can't score. If you ever watch the eye test, watching him score, man, he has brick hands. So he has brick and mortar for hands. But at the end of the day, he's in a situation where he's gonna be on power play 1. I hate to say he's only 26, but maybe, but overall, yes, it's not very good. He's never averaged through his career. He's never been over 2 shots on goal per game. He's not much of a face-off guy. He's maybe career average 4.6, not much of a hitter. His career totals, and it's not he was in Colorado for a bit, and even they were just we got to get rid of this guy. It's not, I don't want to say there's not much there, but there hasn't been much yet. But there is the prospect pedigree, and he is going to be power play 1, potentially line 1. If they just move Elias Lindholm back down like they did, last year, I just have to have him here. Look, I feel the same way with him I do Beniers. At least Beniers is younger, but
Yeah, Beniers is
this
younger.
isn't.
I'll give him that, but
Yeah.
and that still didn't sound very right when I said that. But
All right. Next one. Look, this isn't a tier. These are tiers like if you just want to take a gamble on these guys as like a fourth center and maybe one of these guys hits gold, fine. I'm just not really in on most of these guys. Third one, Marco Casper. I like him the most out of these guys. You know why? Not because he's amazing yet, but he doesn't have long enough sample size that I'm turned off of him as a player yet.
I feel like that's
is that fair?
That's a very sad thing to say, but
like he's only played 78 games, and like I said, second half of the year was pretty good, but he's not on line one. He's not on power play one yet. He doesn't win a lot of faceoffs. He doesn't shoot a lot, and
he does give
not
you
a great offensive team.
Decent hit coverage though. He does give you over 2 hits a game. That is like pretty good.
So
and like again,
if
we talked about him being a swing guy, like in one of our other pods. So like we do think like
if you're taking a stab on him, it's all potential. That's it.
Well, obviously, if you're taking a stab in this tier, I take a stab on him out of all the other guys. Like for me, it's like I would. No, I don't. I'm not. I'm out on Beniers, bro. Like I'm out on Beniers. I'm out on Middlestat at this point. I don't give a shit.
I was gonna say the last guy we have in this tier, Leo Carlson. Like, if he gets power play one, maybe.
But he doesn't though, right? That's the issue.
He doesn't. He's line one for now. He doesn't shoot again. Less than 2 shots on goal per game. He doesn't win faceoffs. He doesn't hit. Somehow he doesn't. Like he doesn't play minutes. Like he averaged 16 minutes last year, which is weird for a guy who's line one. He also hasn't played a full season yet either. Like in terms of each year, he hasn't cracked 80 games yet. I don't know. Again, this is just a projection based on talent, but he doesn't have power play one. He's not projected power play one as of yet. He also really didn't have power play one for most of last year either. So I don't know if that's that far-fetched that he won't have it this year. It's really kind of a mystery with Joel Quenneville. Again, if you're taking a stab on him, you're taking a stab on the deployment, you're taking a stab on the off days, because I haven't checked the schedule yet. The Ducks usually have the most off days. The
Ducks usually have more off nights. Sorry, you mean off nights, but yeah, they have more off nights. Yeah. They play on more off nights than other teams. So like at least like in terms of balancing your roster and like schedule wise, you're not going to have like 3 guys on your bench that are playing one night, right? If you have like Carlson, he's probably going to play like Sundays, like Friday, like the weirder days that like less people play on. Like, at least you have guys going on those days. But again, kind of you have to hope he shoots a bit more. You have to hope he plays a bit more. You have to hope you gotta just hope that everything kind of goes up.
But yeah, basically like these are 4 guys. Like if you just want to take a stab on one and maybe hope like they pan out, cool. I'm not bothering, but if you maybe you're just like feeling a little gamblery, that's fine.
Hint:
this
go
is kind of how I'd have
Casper and Carlson if you're really going to take a stab. Do not go Beniers Middlestat.
I just had to include them, especially these Beniers because at least he has and Middlestat because at least they have the deployment. But I'm just like I don't see any. I don't know. Like I feel like if Matty Beniers was not on Seattle, wouldn't he'd be on that like Marco Rossi undraftable tier, like that.
I'm not gonna lie, like I know he'd still be in the league, but like man, like I just feel like if he wasn't a high draft pick, I almost feel like he'd just be like not struggling to make a roster. But do you know what I mean, sort of? Because I feel like his point production.
I don't think he'd be struggling to make a roster. I think he'd be like an energy third line center, but like struggling.
Well, it's kind
for
of the problem, right? Because like his point totals have been in spite of the fact that he's had good deployment. Like not in spite, but you get what I mean. Like he's had 40-something points.
Like yes, Seattle isn't a beacon. Like they don't have elite offensive players, but like it's not like McCann and Eberle and like Dunn and Montour roadkill either.
Yeah, that's what my point is. Like he's played power play 1 center 1 for so long, and he, like if you can only get 43 points out of that, like what the fuck are you doing? I agree.
All right, and last year's the other guys. These are guys that like again, if you're talking about chasing upside, these guys don't have it, but they are. Well, it's true.
I know. Sorry, it's almost. This is kind of the why. Like it's. I don't want to say it's almost worth not doing. Like there's only one guy in this tier, or one or two guys in this tier, I'd maybe even look at. The other guys I've kind of just be like, I'm out on. That's kind of where I'm at with this tier.
So this tier is just like these are guys where maybe if you're kind of hoping on the upside with the at least they're young tier, you're hoping on guys maybe to take a stab on maybe they hit the upside. These guys are kind of hoping for that revival year or year back to form in some cases. And there could potentially be dividends there, or just the safe floor of a fourth center that has certain deployments are fine. So Brock Nelson, we'll talk about first. Brock Nelson would be higher if you're still in New York. The numbers in Colorado in those 19 games are concerning, though. He went from so a couple years in New York, he was 0.82, 0.91, 0.84 points per game. That plummeted to 0.68 in Colorado. The shots on goal fell from over 2.6, 2.5 to 1.63. Faceoffs are still there, but if the shots and the points are going to plummet, which makes sense because if you look at his time on ice, he went from 19 minutes time on ice that year in New York in the 61 games to 17 and a half with Colorado. And now he's going from he might not. I don't think he has power play one if I remember correctly.
Well, he's not going to, right? Because it's going to be Landeskog, Nachas, Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Makar. And like if it's not Lehkonen, it's going to be Nichushkin.
It's going to be Nichushkin,
yeah. Like Nelson's would be like. I wouldn't even say he'd
so
be
if
the
he's
next
firmly
up, like,
line two, firmly line two, power play two, with the exception of injury, like there's not much there.
Like the only thing that would help him is if McKinnon got hurt. That's it. That's the only case I ever see him getting on PP1. Because look, like even a guy like Ross Colton, they tried Ross Colton on PP1 last year at certain points when there was like injuries and issues. Mm-hmm. Or I think was it last year or 2 years ago. But even Ross Colton at least looked okay there, right? So it's like they have guys that they'll try there before Nelson, and they'd only try Nelson there if McKinnon got hurt. And I'm not holding out hope for that.
So right now for me, he'd almost be on the bottom just because of the deployment. He doesn't have the deployment the other guys do right now. He's probably like the last guy on this list.
Would you not have Couturier like below him? Like that is
maybe, but at least Couturier is line one for now.
Oh, is he line one now? Okay, because I remember like there was points last year where because Philly was weird last year because they just did so much line juggling that like I honestly didn't know who was on what line at certain points. Okay, so
he's projected to be line one for now, so I just got
but no PP1. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll shift them up.
But Malkin's this makes me feel old because now we're at the point where like Malkin's numbers 0.74 were fun, but if you notice the numbers have declined the last 3 years. Everything's declined. His points have declined. His shots have declined. He's never really been a big face-off guy outside of a couple of years either, so that's never really been there either. So it's like if the points are declining and the shots are declining, like he was honestly post All-Star break, he was droppable last year.
Oh, I dropped him. I know. I had him. Yeah. I dropped him. So
and again, like if you look at the play too, he starts hot a bit in pieces every year and then just fades. The last 2 years, again, the point totals have gone down. He's not going to be on line one. He might have power play one,
but
not right now. Again, not right now. If you're drafting him, you're taking a stab that he gets power play one, and that like maybe you could get one, non-age, like one turn back the clock year, and that's kind of it. And I was asking, and also he's age 39 too, which is another thing. So it's like, why not just take a younger, like for me, if I'm looking at it, I'd rather later in the draft just take a stab at a guy like Carlson maybe or Fantilli than I would Malkin, just because there's just more upside there, right?
Yeah.
Sean Couturier, right now he has line one, but he doesn't have power play one. If he's line one with Konechny and Michkov, there is potential there. And he's one of those guys where, like, very worst, he'll get you really good face-off numbers. He's always been a good face-off guy. He's decent shots guy, too. Last year fell down from his usual 2.5 for most of his career. I think last year was slightly below
just under 2, right?
Yeah, but, like, I think overall, the face-offs and I think the shots are okay enough. It's just, what's his deployment going to be? And, like, again, the production's also an issue. Like, last 3 years, it's been a trend at this point where he's basically been half a point per game. And then also health is an issue as well. But if he has line one deployment, if he can somehow... Because if I look at Philadelphia's projected power play deployment, I mean... Like, right now it's projected to be Bobby Brink, Trevor Zegras, Travis Konechny, Michkov, and Drysdale. outside of Konechny and Michkov, those other two forward slots are really up for grabs, I think. So
The only thing is, I would see a guy like I would probably see Tippett take one of those spots before Couturier. Like it'd probably be Tippett first, and like maybe it's either between
yeah, if he takes a spot, it's the Zegras slot for sure. But then at that point, you kind of want to try out Zegras. But there's more of a path, I think. Like there's more of a path for him getting power play one than Brock Nelson.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I think that's why you have him ahead of Nelson. I didn't realize Nelson was that bad in Colorado when he got there. I thought he was a little bit better, but apparently
it's not only that, but like the Landeskog coming back really complicated. I think, and if Nichushkin's not in his head,
not only did it complicated, like Landeskog came back like swinging too, right? Yeah. Like, and it's rare for a guy to come back swinging off such a like significant injury too. And like, there's just so many other guys in Colorado that could get onto PP1 before Nelson, right? Like, I think I told you, like we talked about it, like. It would take a McKinnon injury for him to get on PB1. Whereas, like, if one of the wingers got hurt, Nichushkin or Colton probably leap up the lineup first.
Yeah, exactly. And then Malkin I'd have probably over Couturier. Because, like, look, again, not in power play one right now, but there is a path there where I think Crosby, Raquel, Rust, Carlson are in stone, but that Ville Koivunen spot, could be Rucker McGroarty, it could be Tommy Novak, but it could be Malkin as well, right? So there's that possibility there. And Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh issue last year was defense. It wasn't really scoring as much. So I think I'd have Malkin there for now. But again, it's just... Actually, I don't know, because Couturier doesn't give you the points Malkin does, but he does give you everything else. So it's like, it just kind of depends what you value more.
I'd almost lean Couturier more than Malkin, because like... The point difference between Malkin and Couturier, it was only 5 points, right? Like, I guess Couturier played a shit ton more games, but like, I guess Couturier gives you more category coverage, so it's close. Like, it is really close. Like,
we'll just leave it at this for now. I don't think it matters that much.
Like we're at the bottom.
And then the other guys, the other guy here, Elias Lindholm. Look, he's line one, power play one for now, but we saw this last year and it was horrible. And if you looked at like literally, it was at the point where he was on the third line at certain points of the year because Joe Sacco was just so fed up with him offensively. And if you look at his numbers last year, like nothing was that great really. Less than a shot on goal per game. Faceoffs and hits. So he gives you, again, over 9 faceoffs, a hit per game is fine. But the points and the shots were horrible. And I hate to say it, like, he's already 30. Like, how much upside is there really? I don't want to be mean. There is an argument. I hate to say it. I know this is far-fetched. There's an argument that the year far gone enough. Like, do you just not try Casey Middlestat there and see what you have with a younger player?
I mean, you might as well. Boston just doesn't have much center-wise going for them anyways. Like, they tried Zacha. Zacha never worked out. Like, they tried
whatever the slot is, it's just James Hagen's future slot whenever he decides to come to the NHL. But for now, like, I wouldn't draft Middlestat. I probably wouldn't draft Lindholm either, unless you just badly want to line one power play one guy. But I'm guarantee you, like, again, if you're drafting him, you're not looking for points. You're just looking for coverage on other peripheral categories.
You're looking for face-off wins and hits. I'm just going to be blunt. That's what you're looking for. Face-off wins and hits.
Yeah. This is probably, like, Ryan O'Reilly, I think, has the least, I won't say red flags, but, like, he's line one, power play one. I do think Nashville regresses to the mean in a positive way this year. So I do think there's the opportunity for those numbers to go up. Like, maybe if they're even closer to last year, with 69 points in 82 games, I think, like, plays. The shots are always going to be in that, like, 1.9, 2.1 range. But
if he gets it back over 2, then, like, he'll be fine. I think if he gets it back over 2, he's fine. No one's going to take his... Like, I don't really think anyone will take his employment, because the issue with Nashville is, like...
Look at the Nashville depth chart.
Stamkos isn't good enough to play center anymore anyways. So, like, that takes out one guy that could possibly take, like, center one.
This is the Nashville center depth chart. Fedor Svechkov, Eric Haula, Michael McCarron. No one is taking that spot.
Yeah, so Ryan O'Reilly's safe. It just... I think I assume he'll probably be closer to 60 points this year. Like, I think he'll be, again, like the regression. It's just
if the shots go back up to 2, like, that's a good for it. Like, not good, but it's decent, and it's better than, like, most of the guys, like, these last the last 8-10 guys overall on this list, it's
And
just
he'll give you good face-off wins. So, like, he'll give you a much
yeah.
better face-off wins than any of the other guys in this tier, essentially. Apart from maybe
Again,
actually,
from
no.
the at least they're young to the other guys, he's the most. And okay, and I'll say this, and like Sorelli, Rossi, and he's probably the most draftable. Like, so again, we're talking about the last 10 guys. He's the most draftable, I think. But yeah, this is our list overall. Was there any other things you want to discuss regarding it? I know this was a long episode, but trust me, this was a lot of players we had to go through.
Yeah, because we also had I think we almost had double the amount of players compared to some of the other other positions. So, I mean, I think we did a pretty good job covering it. Like, again, like we did put quite a bit of thought into where each of these guys go. Like, we even had some discussions about which guys we could move up because I think we did debate. I forget who we debated moving up. Yeah, Trocheck was the big one we debated moving up. And I think there are arguments for him moving up.
We had the Larkin Aho versus
So there was a few debates there.
Also, just pre-doing the pod, we also, like I said, debated. Is there ever an argument for taking a center not named McDavid #1?
And the answer is no. I think...
Yeah, this is our center tier list. Again, it's a deep group. I would say if we were going to do round cutoffs, we'll do this before we sign off here. The top 4 guys, I think, are round 1. With Crosby maybe in the, I'd say Crosby, Eichel being that, late first, early second, but most likely early second, I think. I think the round 2 cutoff is probably, I want to say, would you say Aho or Larkin?
Round 2? I was actually debating leaning even into the Hughes.
Yeah, okay, Hughes, yeah.
Because there's going to be goalies.
No, I don't know. Miller to me would be a round 2 guy for sure.
Okay, Miller. Okay, yeah, maybe Miller's fine. But again, I think there's a lot of other defensemen or things that would take above those centers.
And
defensemen,
wings, and then I think
goalies
but
too.
I think the overall thing you have to look at is by round 2, there's still round 2 you should have easily found a first line center because
you have a great one
because
you'll get one of the great one guys essentially.
Exactly, and then I think it's one of those positions you can wait on because of how deep it is. And if say you leave your draft with, let's say you don't take somehow you don't end up with any of the first 4 guys. If say you end up with Eichel in the second, Wyatt Johnston a bit later, and then take the swing on Pettersson, or let's say you go Eichel, Johnston, and then maybe a Horvat, and then take a swing on one of the other guys in the other tier. I think that's fine. And I think I think you can, luckily with the center depth, you can really focus on some of the other positions and then come back in the later rounds, especially. Because in the later rounds too, you can also just chase some of the floor guys. I think having Horvat or Kadri as a 3C is perfectly fine. I think having Ek as a 3C is perfectly fine. And even if you want to wait a couple rounds later and just take Trocheck as a 3C, knowing he might not get power play 1, that's fine too. I think the depth of this class is just insane.
Well, yeah, you have more flexibility with what you can do for the centers, right? Whereas with left wing, it really is get one of the early left wings as fast as you can, one of the better left wings as fast as you can, because the drop off is just so significant, right? Same thing with the right wings too. Apart after Kucherov and Pasternak, there is a bit of a drop off, right? So you do want to try to get one of those guys. Whereas if you don't get, again, if you don't get the first 4 and McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, and Matthews, yes, obviously you're disappointed because again, who wouldn't want those guys, right? But you're not. It's not as much of a death sentence as for example, left wing. If you don't get one of I think was it Connor or I forget who the other or what's his name? Oh fuck, I'm blanking on names right now. It's a little bit late. I think it's what one. It's 1.
It's just you're a lot more worried if you don't hit on certain tiers in left wing or D, but and right wing to an extent. But centers again, if your first center is JT Miller, or even I'll say this, if your first center is Larkin, but you really focused on right wing, left wing, and D, you'll be fine. Yeah. You can figure it out. I don't know if you have that same luxury with the other positions, but like I said, I think this is a really deep group. I know I've seen some leagues where people have ended up with Aho as their 1C, but again, they had Makar, they've had really good wings, and then they just kind of went, with the Aho, went Aho, Johnston, and Bedard or something just to seal it through the middle and focus on the other positions. You can do that with this position, so it's nice.
Yeah.
We'll kind of focus more on like our values again as the drafts come closer. We'll kind of see what the ADPs look like, and we'll let you know who's overvalued, undervalued, and we'll kind of go from there.
Yep. Sounds like a plan. All right. See you guys later. Peace.